Welcome back to The Watch, and if everything's good, we should be live. Chat, let us know if you can see us, and more importantly, if you can hear us, okay? We're running a couple of things on automatic or automation at the moment, and we're just hoping everything is working properly.
And by us, he's not talking about a ghost. I'm here as well.
I'm joined by the lady! See, I'm not just on my own today, because Nathan, we announced in the last review that Nathan won't be able to join us, but my lady has joined us instead.
So, first live stream for Rings of Power.
They're confirming sounds good. Is it working? It seems to be working. All right. The audio might be peaking for me a bit. Let me know if I get too loud and it gets a bit, like that. So I might move this. But everyone's saying it sounds good. Let's go. Okay, guys, diving in. Rings of Power episode 7. I have thoughts.
We're surprised.
Yeah. Okay, so brief overview of the episode, non-spoilers, and then we'll get into spoilers as per usual. This show is as consistently bad as ever. The writing is as bad as ever. It is a horribly written show with horrible characters. And this episode, it's almost like it returns back to the form of episode 1 and 2, where it gets really slow, nothing majorly important happens, and as a result, it wasn't like nothing brain-breakingly stupid happens. Oh, stuff stupid happens, but not to the point of, oh my goodness, someone is walking into a pyroclastic flow and doesn't die. But I guess that is part of this episode, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it kind of continues from the last time, so we kind of get the end of something stupid, and then just a lot of little stupid things, not story-breaking stupid things.
Yeah, because a lot of the story has now already happened. There are some really stupid things, but not like, we have an evil sword thing that its whole purpose is to open up a spillway on a dam. Kind of, it's not to that level of ludicrousness. Because last episode 6, set the bar so low that it's impressive if they reach that again. And they didn't in this episode, but it's still really bad. It's just because not a lot happened. And that's really it. Not a lot happened at all in here. So it's the aftermath of the big explosion. And they have to kind of gather together, and it's kind of weird how they figure out how they gather together and stuff. And we see the Harfoots again.
Oh, I'm not a big fan of the Harfoots. It makes me sad whenever they come on screen.
They're awful. They're awful. And this episode confirms a lot of their awfulness with their own words. And so there's a lot of the Harfoots in this. And then there's a lot of Durin and Elrond. And that really goes nowhere either, apart from like some, arguments between Durin and his dad. And at the end, I know where, like, this isn't really spoiled, like, the Númenóreans are going back home, Galadriel's going to go to the elves, the dwarves aren't digging any deeper, and there's a small, like, Easter eggy thing of potentially something bad, and the orcs are now living in the Southlands, and shock horror, it has a new name! Can you guess what that name is, people?
We never would have guessed by a volcano. Never!
Oh my goodness, so the reveal of that was pretty darn painful. And that's the episode. So it was actually really bland, returns to going glacial speed in terms of its progression. And that's it. That's the episode.
And I still feel like the only genuine person in the entire show is Durin. He's the only one I kind of like.
I got a single chuckle. This is like, well, actually, sorry, I need to rephrase that. There were 2 moments in which I bursted out laughing out of the ridiculousness and stupidity, okay? So I have definitely laughed, but I actually got a genuine chuckle in response to an intentional joke. That's groundbreaking for this show. But if that's all we get is pretty darn sad. But I will get pointed out because, and it was from Durin. Durin is like the only one that's mildly likable, but he's a bit of a contradictory mess in this episode as well.
He is, but I still can't help but like him just a little bit, just because by contrast, he's heaps likable to everybody else.
Yes. And so I just want to mention, because one of the things that Nathan also is able to bring to these reviews, he notices things that I miss as well. He's a very sharp guy, Nathan, and so I'm going to do my best. My lady is here to help me out, but we're probably not going to grab everything, so let us know in the chat. There'll be comments after this goes up, and we'll just dive right in. We'll dive right in to episode 7, now going into spoilers all the way. I'll bring up the overlay. And look, it's here this time because Nathan isn't near. I'm usually sitting here, Nathan's. But anyway, we've got it. We've got it. And so this is, of course, the opening. And it starts with Cheetos Galadriel, as we would have guessed. Okay. And even, like, I was happy to pretend everyone died last episode, and that would have been good ending to a terrible show. But of course, no, everyone is alive. Well, this is the thing, okay? When I say not everyone's alive. And the show just seems to, I don't know, completely random between people. Well, I'll get there. You'll actually see it. So, turns around, Galadriel is... all she is covered in ash. And we saw that pyroclastic flow hit her face on, and she's just gets up and she's a bit dirty and dusty.
No singes or burns, nothing. She's all good. She's just a bit dirty.
And then, so if you're gonna do this, you need to be consistent. And so, okay, it was a horrible death cloud of fire, char, and everything, and it just wasn't as hot on the inside. It was a bit dusty. Okay, if they're just gonna say this wasn't such a huge death pyroclastic cloud, it should have about the same effect on everyone. And then we see this. A horse running on fire. And already I started to get pissed off because it's like, okay, so it was hot enough to just burst things into flame. And then it even gets worse because it dwells on Galadriel a bit. And then we even see, like, fully charred people eventually. I hope we'll get...
And the buildings. There's, like, nothing left
look at the buildings!
And so...
Look what happened to the buildings!
It's dirty in the first place, and all of a sudden they're barely upright, and she doesn't have a burn or a singe or anything.
Like, so they're not being consistent. It's just like, this was a destructive cloud of death, which fried so many things. The buildings are destroyed, the people are destroyed, yet Galadriel is barely a scratch. She's just dusty. And so I was like, they couldn't even commit to, all right, it wasn't as destructive. No, everything, like, look at the hellscape that's there. And she's fine. I was like, come off it. Bull crap, you know? And it even shows some, like, maybe we missed it because it dwells on some people, right? There's some shots of, like, people that almost look like Pompeii victims where they're just almost, like, charred in place, in posture. And again, when I saw that, I was like, so this thing was as insanely deadly as a full-on pyroclastic.
It's just selective.
It's selective. I can't believe it. Yeah, Chad, the writers do not realize how hot a wall of burning ash is. Not just burning, like it had lightning and everything in that thing. She's invincible. Yeah, it's seemingly so, okay? Yeah, horses on fire... Yeah, so I have a note here. I didn't think that'd actually be that stupid to show us dead, charred bodies when right after they show Galadriel fine. But yeah, they are, and just which sets up such a huge inconsistency. Okay, so moving forward. Okay, all right. This is where the Queen suddenly is trying to help out people in this building, and we find Isildur and his friend, and then their other friend is dead, but then they hear kind of like, you know, cries for help from this building here. And look, it's a small thing, but I would think like the Queen should probably send, like, she has 2 people with them. And what happens, what plays out now, is that Isildur needs to hold up a burning thing, and then one person goes in to get the people, and it's the Queen. But there's another guy that Isildur was with, send him. You're the Queen.
She's supposed to be kind of important, right?
Yeah, you know, just a little bit. But they want the hero moment for her, so she goes in and grabs the people, pulls them out, and after she pulls them out, our internet is running a little slow, so we might have to wait a little bit just for the screen play to catch up. Yeah, so this is the Queen going in, grabbing them, helping them out. Go forward, stay together. And I would have just thought, like, she had two of her soldiers there, that they were like, no, Queen, you stay out here, we'll go in and help them. Again, it's for the forced girl power moment. And they're getting out. She tries to go in to get more people, and it all falls down, and Isildur gets crushed in this. Now, I want people to watch what happens. Like, fire falls down, he looks up, and then this happens, okay? Like, look at what, like, the entire thing collapses in on him. So, he's dead. Sure. Now, this is the thing, though. He's Isildur. So,
he can't be dead.
He can't be dead.
But, of course, they're going to put him in a flaming building that collapses on him, and he'll survive it, of course. So, it's... And then, of course, we've got fire everywhere. We've had this big old fire cloud attack, and the Queen is fine. Mm-hmm. But some little embers defeat her.
Yeah, yes, we'll get there. We'll get there. So, this is the thing, right? From what they show, this is like plot armor in the extreme that Isildur would survive this, okay? Look at it, just, like, there's no place for safety. Fire burning, crushed, trapped. Even if somehow he didn't get crushed and burnt to death, he's trapped and would suffocate or any number of things, and the heat would just fry him.
Smoke, extreme burns. He'd be pretty miserable for the length of time that he survived.
And so, the thing is, though, I wouldn't put it past Rings of Power to kill off Isildur and have someone else cut the ring off of Sauron in the Great Battle or something. But they won't, and he'll just gonna...
Yes, Chad, just a flesh wound.
Just a flesh wound. He's gonna clearly survive this. And this is one of the complaints I had about building tension in the show, okay? We know he's not gonna die. And in fact, they don't have the balls to kill off anyone. I would have been somewhat surprised in this big ash cloud death thing. You've already shown people dying. I was like, well, you have an opportunity here to show somewhat of maybe a loss. Like this was really big by having someone die in it. Like Bronwyn, the mother, or Discount Legolas, okay? Because guess what? Those are invented characters that don't have established lore like Isildur. We know Isildur should survive if they're gonna, It's funny, would they break that? I don't think they would, but even if they end up doing it, just like everything else, what are they respecting? I don't think they would. So then you have other characters, though, that you could get what could have happened to them? But they don't have the balls for that. And so even when this happened...
The worst they've gotten is killing off the friend that didn't want to go to fight anymore.
And he was so disposable.
Like, you don't even remember his name. He's just the other friend.
Yeah. Kill off someone that had a prominent role in the show that probably... But doesn't have any significance in greater lore and story or anything like that. It would have served interesting character development for Theo, Bronwyn, or Discount Legolas, depending on who you kill. Because if it's Bronwyn, Discount Legolas, and Theo, you would have certain things that they need to get over and overcome, and then they would feel angrier towards Adar orcs and all those things. And again, if you killed off Theo, you have other characters that respond to that, and so it would have given you some justification to build tension and characterization and investment in what characters are doing, but they don't have the balls for that.
Yeah, you don't feel the loss because you don't care about anybody that's died. They're just faceless figures.
I wouldn't have cared about if they... Well, you're talking about the discount, the side characters.
Like when they think about it, like when nobody died that you've actually gotten to know in the show.
Yes.
So even if they were trying to make you care about the characters, you don't care that anybody's died because you don't know who they are.
Exactly. And I wouldn't have cared too much even if these, main characters died because I don't care about them. But it would have built something for the characters that are supposed to care about. It would have done something for them. And so when this happened, it was like, of course they're not dead. And so they try and build a reveal that, they're alive. We almost got you. No, it's like, of course they're not dead. You don't have the balls for that show. Don't even try it. But it would have been interesting if they actually took that opportunity. Because it doesn't work with Isildur, because we know Isildur's not going to die because of the great story. And then I groaned. I was so I groaned because, half-foots. But then there's this interesting kind of reaction that they have when they crest a hill, and they kind of react with horror. And I was like, wait, did all the other half-foots die? I'll be like, yeah! And it was.
The other half-foots were just inspecting fireball debris, and we're like, they're still there.
I know. I was like, wouldn't have that been interesting that these half-wits are like, we'll leave you for dead and we'll go off ahead, and if you can keep up, it's our own fault, but if you die, we don't give a stuff. And then because they went off ahead, they, run into some trouble and they all die, and their act of leaving the others behind actually ends up saving him. That would have been at least interesting. But of course, they don't have the balls for that. And no, it's just some charred bits of trees. And their reaction to the trees felt really overdone. Because they're like, they're coming here for food, right? They want to get apples. And if you look here, there's like, only a couple of these trees are charred.
Yeah, there's a selected area that seems to be damaged, and everything else seems to be okay.
Yeah.
It's like only a couple of rocks have made it this far. But they're thinking that they're not going to have enough to last till winter or whenever they need to move next.
What's baffling about this, they have migrated over a crazy distance to get to this location, which is just a couple of apple trees. Like, what's special about like, well, for what they show, I know that they end up gathering more food, but that's after, Discount Gandalf does his magic. So even here, the concept of the show is demonstrating that it's just the apple trees that they travelled all this way for. You're telling me that they didn't know where to get other, apples anywhere else after migrating this insane distance?
It's that selective volcano again. It only wipes out the apple trees they're interested in.
I have something to say about that as well. Again, but you already hit the first part nail on the head. This volcano is very arbitrary in what its fire spews out, happens. And the other thing I have to say is hang on, they are probably several hundred miles away from Mount Doom. I mean, they've showed some of their migration on the map. They're not inside the mountain range that locks off Mordor. You know, the map of Mordor where it's like this big sea with a Mount Doom in it. They're not even inside there. And I checked the scales last episode and last review, and it's about 200 miles to cross the northern mountain range outside of Mount Doom. And the context of the show was demonstrating that the half-woods, hobbits, are around there, like the Dead Marshes. Well, they become the Dead Marshes later on. It's like the northwestern end side of Mordor out there. Still, several hundreds of miles. And you're telling me fiery, molten, massive things of rock flew that far?
Over mountain ranges.
Over mountain ranges? Get lost, show. You're drunk again. Come off it. But they expect you to swallow this crap. Just it makes sense because there's an eruption. It's but you showed the distances.
Distance means nothing to them.
It really
means nothing.
You're right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It means spit to them, especially because there is no other charter things anywhere near their location. We see mountain shots of them walking around, especially at the end of the episode where they start to walk after Discount Gandalf. No charter means any this one location, and it just happened to be the exact place where the Half-Woods are going and burning their trees and stuff. Again, it's one of those things where the writers, they want something to happen in the plot, and they want artificial conflict, the trees are not there, so that'll mean Discount Gandalf can heal them later and make it look like he's evil and not and everything. How we do that? Well, it's just an eruption. We'll just have boulders laid on it. And no one said, they're nowhere near the eruption. But no, we can do it because they can't think of anything creative to justify this situation to have the storyline with Discount Gandalf. And we saw that so much in this show. And it's just consistent. It's consistently like this. They have something that they want to do in the story, and they lack the creativity or skill to get there logically, naturally, or even interestingly. They just arbitrarily force bullcrap.
And you actually get a bit of a panning shot a little bit later of some of the distance around the area. And there are no other burnt spots. There's not a sign that any other fire rocks have been through the area.
Exactly. Yeah, so it only hit the fruit trees, and I'm thinking aren't there other fruit trees around? But they're oh, they're all bad. And then they see Discount Gandalf is I don't know, sad about a tree, and suddenly the other Half-Woods are aware that he can do magic.
Well, they got told about that whole so-called wolf experience, and so they know he can do something.
Did they get told?
Well, yeah. Otherwise, they were trying to get rid of him, and so remember that they older lady that keeps trying to leave everybody behind.
I have things to say about her.
She would probably have...
Sorry, do you have a pen just so I can mark off?
I do, indeed.
This is this is her pen.
It has a flower in it and it's pink.
It's my wife's pen, okay? I could use a pink pen and still be manly. It's just a pink pen. What are you saying? What are you saying? All right. So I need to mark off where we're going. So, yeah, all right. I want to question that because when he saved everyone from the wolves, the older lady wasn't there with them, was she?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she was one of the only ones there.
Okay, maybe.
She was climbing up in the tree, freaking out.
Okay, maybe. Then they would know. But all right, so yeah, he can do magic. Still, it's like, are they just assuming just because he can do magic, he can then do anything? Because there's like, I don't know, stopping some wolves is a long different thing to healing trees.
This is Middle Earth. Magic can do strange things, apparently.
I'd like some consistency, some rules and stuff, but we don't get that. All we know is if this guy, I don't know, pushes out enough and says words like he's constipated, and then does something somewhat, no, is he evil, is he not, then something magic happens. And we don't know how the magic works at all. It's just random, really random stuff. Same with the other, but we see some fire magic here. It seems random. Okay, so as Discount Gandalf starts to caress the tree.
And chant a little bit mumbling way. I don't know.
I literally write, oh, the tree's going to explode and hit someone. Okay. And guess what happens? It doesn't explode, but it cracks and a massive branch falls down and almost hits a little girl. And I'm like, close enough!
And I was looking at it and like, that thing is half dead anyway. Like, that's already what would be considered a Widowmaker. And so they all stand underneath it, of course. Well,
the little girl does, but Nori saw it and she's like, oh, jumps on top of them. So this show is predictable. It doesn't know how to build tension or you get invested in what's going to happen because you know what's going to happen. And so anyway, predictable. And that's that scene. Oh no, is he evil? Is he not? You got to send him away, but it cuts away and we're back with Elrond. Oh gosh. He's so full of crap, Elrond, and he's still he's lying. So Elrond actually says at this point, "There's never a promise. I've never made a promise that I haven't kept." And I'm like, what? What about the promise that you'll never reveal Mithril? Where no one will hear this. The only is or something. He says it in a weird way, but he promises never to share anyone. Then like next episode, Celebrimbor's like, "Oh, thanks for showing me the Mithril." And then in that scene, it's so frustrating because then they're talking about, I can't, break my oath to Durin. You just did! You showed Celebrimbor! And so when he says, you can trust me, I'm like, no, you can't. Elrond's
he's like, you're not trusting the elves, you're trusting me. I'm like, you're already proving yourself untrustworthy repeatedly. How is this reassuring?
It's crazy. And also what's crazy is how insanely devoted Durin is to Elrond now. And it comes out of nowhere. And he's like, he tears up multiple times. He's like, Elrond, my friend, he's going to die. Let's do something. I'm paraphrasing. This is effectively what he's saying. I was like, hang on. No, they're actually not going to die. It's not like they have a disease where they're all going to die in a week unless there's a cure. They're going to lose their immortality. They'll still live several hundred years, if not thousands, but they will eventually die. That's the implication of them losing their life, their inner light thing.
And it's so not impactful to them that they have no idea it's going on unless somebody tells them about the tree. They don't feel sick or weak or paler than normal. They just get told the tree's dying, so we are.
Very good point. I mean, has Galadriel felt anything? It's like, when she meets the other elves, like, oh, by the way, you're about to die. Several thousand years, your immortality's gone. Like, what? Oh, I thought that feeling was just the time of the month or something.
Not the volcano at all.
The elves have, I don't know. We're not going to go. We're moving on. But you're right, that's a great point. It's like, no elf would know unless they're told. Like, Galadriel is not kind of just like, what's going on? She just, they think everything's fine, but now some tree has black fungus on it. They're all dying. And so, it's funny about this. So, the king, also the king's reaction, right? He's not mad that the elves now learn about Mithril. And I'm like, are they going to address this? Like, he swore his son not to reveal anything, and suddenly Elrond comes back and is like, give us your Mithril. And I have it written here. Are they not going to address this? No, they don't.
They're going to ignore that.
They're just going to ignore it completely. So they build up things, right? And they set certain expectations. Like, a character, if this happens to this character because of what they've said, they should be really, really angry. So that happens, and then they just move on. And they don't... Again, this show sucks. How can you build investment in it when they just contradict or forget about setups and no payoffs?
And so even the king, who's against any help to the elves. Doesn't bring out, this guy has lied to you over and over again. This guy you showed mithril to, and then he showed it around and told people about it. He doesn't bring any of this up. He just says, oh, they've got to die like everybody else.
And by the way, I think that's actually quite fair. I don't know. Like the king is the only one that actually starts to speak with some reason. It's after Elrond leaves, so we'll get there when we get there. But Elrond says, like, you know, something weird. I am half elven, and then he says, I see in elves that which they cannot see in themselves. And I'm like, okay, such as? And we're not told. He just keeps moving. He just keeps like, okay, what can you see? and then it's like, he's basically condemning the entire elven race. There's something I can see, and they go, and what? No other elf can see this issue. There's something so. What is that? And no, all right, we're not giving it.
Not important enough. He just sees stars in their eyes. I don't know.
Oh, and I don't care about, like, the show wants you to be really invested, like, the elves might die. I don't care. It's made up arbitrary bullcrap. They just, suddenly they're dying because of fungus on a tree. I'm like, where did that come from? And again, it's not something I particularly relate to, because me being a mortal human, I'm like, oh, the elves will be mortal like us on an even play. Seems fair to me. And the dwarf basically says that. All right, so I got that. Okay, so Elrond leaves, and now the dad's talking with Durin, having this discussion, and the dad then gives this really weird, like, his reasoning for not digging the mithril is bizarre unless he is aware of something, and it's the Balrog. Like, his reasons for not wanting the mithril to be mined is it's dangerous. He says, we do not dig in earth that cannot support it. And when he said that, though, I was like, what, not support it? I'm sure there's, like, dwarves are dwarves.
They make mines and tunnels and things all the time. Like, this is what they're expert in. Yeah. You would think he would say, okay, we've got all these clever dwarves that know how to do this. Find a way of getting to places to mine this mithril, whether we're going to give it to elves or not. They've already established that they really want it.
Mm-hmm. And then the king says this, tempting shadow, rock, and mine. And I was like, shadow, rock? Well, so first shadow seems like he's referring to the Balrog. Tempting rock, okay, rock might. But mine, is it tempting a mine? It's like, hang on, tempting a mine? I don't think that really follows. And then he goes, to bury us all beneath the mountain. And since when are dwarves scared of digging deeper? It felt really out of place with dwarves. And
that's part of their storyline, is they kept going deeper and digging. And so that's contradicting the entire storyline of the dwarves.
Yeah, the only explanation of how the king would be so reluctant to get this incredibly valuable mineral, because he's not reluctant to give it to the elves, he's reluctant to get it to the dwarves as well. He just doesn't want anyone to touch it. And they don't explain it, but this line with the shadow seems to think it is aware of the Balrog that's over there. And then if that's the case, holy freaking crap. You know, all you have to do to get Durin to not, like, be so insistent to get the mithril is tell him that there's a Balrog there. It's like, oh, there's an evil death demon that could destroy, you know, our entire kingdom. How about you stop pushing it, you know?
Stay away from the big mean thing.
But no, it isn't explained. And if look, this show, right, is so bad at trying to set up kind of, you know, Chekhov's gun and all those things, everything. And so I would say that their writers are wholly incompetent enough that this is a mistake. And the king actually has no idea about the Balrog. Okay, he's just saying random crap, tempt shadow, earth, and mine. And he doesn't know. But if he doesn't know, then what's his reasoning for not doing it? He's a friggin' dwarf and it's really valuable mining stuff.
And somebody in the comments says that the Balrog was awakened by the Durin the 6th. We're on Durin the 3rd.
I know. They don't care about the timeline. They have mashed things together insanely, like to a ridiculous degree. Because like the rings are actually made, like, I don't know, hundreds of years before the fall of Numenor and other things, and all of that.
Timeline's distance, it's all arbitrary.
Yeah, and so they've lifted things out of the Third Age and pushing them into this, like the issues with the Balrog and stuff, just because they want it. So what the king is doing here makes no sense at all for him not wanting to do it. And if it's the Balrog, then he's being totally stupid, because I'm pretty sure if you explained it to Durin, his son, he'll be like, What? There's a death demon colossal thing that was like in the battle against Mordor. All right, yeah, let's not go near that crap.
Okay, so you're trying to save all our people now, rather than saving all the elves for a long time. Oh, okay. Immediacy is important.
Seems reasonable, but we're not told that. And I don't think, and it's very possible, as I mentioned, the writers, they don't even have a good reason for Durin doing this. And then, wow, okay, so young Durin, the son, he tears up and is like, he says, "My friend is drowning!" And he actually doesn't even sound that manly. His voice kind of like, "My friend is drowning!" It sounds like he didn't sound like Durin when he delivered that line, but he sounded like a child. And then I was like, why does he care so much? He hated the guy not long ago, and now he's like brothers in arms, like they've just went to war together or something. Show, you haven't brought us there. You have not justified Durin's attachment to Elrond at this point, to this level. This is crazy, to the point where he will betray the king, commit treason, and all this stuff. He even, especially what he says later on, like, Elrond is like a brother to me, as if he came from my mother's own womb. It's like,
it wasn't long ago where you wouldn't even see the man.
I know.
And now you will bend over backwards and fight for his life because you've suddenly remembered your friends.
But we're not given the contextualization as to why they're such good friends. Like, this level of camaraderie, brotherhood, like, never betray, I'll betray the king and do, all these things is extreme. Like, what did they go through to get to that level? And the show doesn't reveal it to us.
No, and he's also just been shown in the previous episode that his friend's been lying to him.
Yes! He has far more reason to be pissed off at Elrond than anything. Especially last episode, when Elrond says, "I've been lying to you the whole time," Durin's like, "Oh, that's fine." I got so annoyed with that because it was so out of, character with what they set up with Durin. That should have made him rage. It means that whole thing, Elrond was just manipulating him, didn't care about their friendship, and was only wanting to use him, which Elrond confirmed at the end of that last episode. And Durin's now like, "We're close brothers. My friend's drowning. Get out of here. You haven't earned this." And as a result, it comes off fake. And I don't believe it, and I'm not there with the character, and instead of getting me invested, I'm just getting annoyed. Gosh. And then again, also it's like, the elves aren't actually dying. All they have to do is return to Valinor and they'll still live forever.
Just go home,
Just go home. It's like, this isn't nearly as catastrophic a thing as that. Either they can return home, live forever. And by the way, I thought it was like a really nice place. It's free from all this war and turmoil and things.
And the king's already told everybody there's nothing to be concerned of. Why don't we just go home anyway? Like, what's so exciting about staying in Middle Earth if nobody likes them there and they're going to die?
Exactly. And then, or they can just live in Middle Earth, still live between, 500 to 1,000 years or more, far more than a lot of other races, and eventually die, which seemed to be a bit more fair. And so it's not the catastrophic death of the whole elven race. The elven race will continue quite happily without the immortality, but they're trying to make us feel like, the elves, what's going to happen? I don't freaking care. And even if they were all dying, I'd probably be like, good, the show's ending. And then Durin, he says Durin says something interesting. Sorry, King Durin, the dad Durin. The fate of the elves were decided many ages ago. I was like, good point. It's like, this is coming upon them from some, higher power, the thing that made the elves. And he even says this. He talks about, the greater powers. He says, defy their will, and this entire kingdom might fall.
Because the whole story with this whole tree dying and stuff isn't to do with anything recent. It's supposed to have just happened over time. So there's nothing catastrophic that's caused it recently, right?
Yeah, well, they haven't explained what's caused it. They say, some growing shadow, and they thought it was... the king actually thought it was war, and if we removed all vestiges of war, that thing would go. And you would think, because one of the thematic themes of Lord of the Rings is that evil corrupts, that Sauron has a corrupting ability here. I guess look at Morgoth, corrupting humans into orcs and things, and then Sauron makes a ring that can tempt people and corrupt people and everything, and so the capability of corrupting goodness into something foul is actually kind of interesting theme in Lord of the Rings. In fact, you kind of see it with Mordor, because Mordor, it isn't given a prequel origin story. Maybe it is, but it's not the one in Rings of Power, okay, right? And that the impression that you get when you read Lord of the Rings and watch the films is that evil just corrupted that place like to an insane degree. And so when I see this evil influence on the tree, if I was in this universe, my first impression would be, so there's something really bad and evil in the world that is spreading its influence and corrupting good things, okay? And to me, that would be direct evidence that Galadriel's right, that Sauron's might be still around. And so the fact that the king is like, we'll remove all vestiges of war, all our ability to fight the evil that seems to be causing the corruption, is the thing that will remove the corruption. I was like, where is that logic coming from? And then, again, they haven't actually explained what's actually causing it, even though greater context, I think I'm right about my interpretation. It's the evil spreading, Sauron rising, everything like that, and the dwell's light is dwindling, But
if all they're seeing is the decay and the things happening where the elves live, wouldn't you be more concerned that the evil is with the elves, not spreading from outside of where they live?
It's a good point. I'd be talking to the king and saying, King, I don't know, do
you trust everybody here?
Are you doing something nasty with orcs in like a dungeon somewhere or something like that? Because like, the corruption's spreading from this place. Good point. And so I hate that whole storyline with the elves just dying and all that crap, because again, it's trying to take away what happened in the Third Age when the light of the elves were leaving and it was their time to leave. And so when they come about, say that the light of the elves is dwindling now, I'm like, hang on, isn't this like several centuries, even thousands of millennia too early? But they know what they're doing it. The fate of the earth. So anyway, what Durin says here is like that it might even be the will of the gods, and trying to prevent it could lead to the kingdom's downfall. And I thought, like, fair point. Why hasn't anyone explored that? But Durin's like, no, it's my friend. He doesn't even consider these arguments that there could be something larger at play that's causing this. And then they just, that's the scene. It moves on, doesn't even address it. And we get to, this scene where Disa is upset because the king is not saving the elves, and she thinks the king should save the elves. And
the only experience she's had with elves is that they've lied. The so-called friend of her husband has been absent for their entire marriage and suddenly shows up, lies and lies and lies, and now she cares.
Yeah. I mean, because Disa basically is a wonderful person, okay? And they can't have anything bad. Well, but the thing is, though, like, it's just one of those things where it feels like they have to make this character so good and everything like that, because, there was a complaint about House of the Dragon because a character died in it who happened to be gay, okay? And so the character was gay, he got, like, beaten to death in the episode, and people claimed it was homophobic because a gay person died. Of course, heaps of straight people die all the time in there, that's, no one bats an eye, but suddenly...
You have to be immortal.
So I thought, hang on, isn't that more like equal treatment of the characters, and they're just saying this is a character and if we'll do whatever is appropriate in the law?
Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon are renowned for killing people off.
But I'm saying there's a trend that they seem to treat characters that are of the more diverse, origin differently to other characters, and they can't have Disa show any, character faults and everything, or they're completely blind and they don't know what actually are character faults and think they're wonderful, and they make Galadriel the most insufferable, awful person ever, thinking that they're wonderful. It's like one or the other, right? Because Galadriel's always right, basically. Though there is some exploration about Galadriel's, motives that we'll talk about.
Nerdrotic Raid, they've arrived.
Hey guys, welcome. Hope you enjoyed Gary's stream. Welcome to Night's Watch 1. Very happy to have you guys on board.
So those that have just arrived, we don't have Nathan today. He's filming some footage for his own channel over at PAX Australia. And so I'm here instead, the lady, and I'll just be joining for this stream, and Nathan will be back next week.
I love having you join us. Maybe we'll get you to join us more often because you're wonderful, my dear.
We have all three.
Yes. And we also have someone else joining us. Peter, do you want to say hi to everyone? Just say, well.
Hello, everyone.
There's Peter. He's monitoring the chat and making sure bots and everything. All right, so she calls him a lice, bearded, uncaring old fool. And again, when I was like, Disa, they're not dying. It's not like he's, holding the knife and slitting their throats. They're just losing their immortality. And then Durin says something interesting. What kind of father would I be if I teach our children the will of their king means nothing? And I was like, Huh.
This is actually a good point. Remember that one.
Because he doesn't care about the will of the king later on and breaks it anyway.
Because he's trying to show his kids that he's going to be king one day
Yeah.
and that you should respect the king.
Yeah, respecting authority, and the king hasn't done anything crazy to warrant, full-blown treason or anything like that. And so being an example of obeying the law, I was like, oh, okay, interesting. But then he goes and breaks the law anyway and screws. It's like, oh, they can't even follow through with things that are like, hey, you might have done so. Oh, okay, never mind. All right. And so this is where I got my only kind of sincere chuckle in this. And I'll see if I can get it. So she says like I'm sorry I called him a fool. He says, I detest it when you heap slag on my mother. And hey, hang on, heap slag. You remember how they're really bad with metaphors and everything like that? This is actually a really appropriate one for dwarves, because when you smelt iron, you have slag in it. That's actually a great euphemism. Is it euphemism? Is that what I'm using? But anyway, for dwarves.
Analogy,
And is it a word you use to elaborate or add accentuation to, things. But anyway, it fits. They actually got one that fits. It's like, just when you heap slag on my mother. And then Duran says, well, in your mother's case, she actually does have lice in her. So he said, and then he's like, the delivery was actually very well done here. I'm joking. It's like, well,
quick save, try to save.
Well, in your mother's case, she actually does have lice in your bit. I'm joking. I was like, Al, he got a slight. I was like, that was it. That's what I got. I mean, that's phenomenal for this show. That's what they managed. That's the only thing they managed in the whole episode. But all right, I can give you that one. That single one. Okay. But yeah, all right, Duran starts crying again. Oh, that's right, because Elrond comes and he can't tell him, and so he doesn't even say, that he's not allowed the mithril. He's just crying. Elrond understands, and again, when he's crying, I was like, well, are they lovers or something like that? Because this is really pushing it far. And then this happens, and this annoyed me. So anyway, look, he's crying.
So I don't know if it was just told very incorrectly, but by the way that this decay or whatever is supposed to, affect Elrond, Durin's going to be dead by the time Elrond even feels the effects. And so he's not even going to miss his friend.
That's a brilliant point.
He's saving him so his grandchildren might know him.
I married a good one. So something happens, right? Gives the look, he's crying. He's just like, and then he tosses the mithril near the leaf, and I freaking hate this show. What happens is exactly what you expect would happen. The mithril pushes away the black goobly stuff. Everyone should be aware, this is how it works. That's why they want the mithril in the first place. But Durin's reaction is like this is some phenomenal revelation that now he must help Elrond because it did exactly what they said it would do.
You know what else, though?
What?
The decay doesn't come back when it's moved away from the mithril. So, you should treat one elf at a time and be perfectly okay.
You're right. Oh my god! All they need is like one wagon load. Send one elf through at a time, and the effect is permanent. This bloody show.
They have a day spa with a tanning booth, and that's all the elves need.
Oh, we need you in every review now. Oh, what a great observation. You're absolutely right. Yeah,
You're winning lots of fans.
Apparently, I broke the show even more.
because look at this. Well, watch what happens. And I can't believe that Durin is like, oh no, it did exactly what Elrond said it did, so this changes the, calculation. I must help him now.
Because it's proved that he's telling the truth. I was fighting and I didn't really believe him.
Yes, he's lied so much. Because, oh no, the fungus is going away. And then, so he looks to his eye and look, the leaf gets cured. Ah, wow, that breaks so much about just, it's permanent. You don't need a lot of mithril now to fix the problem. Then it ends with Durin going, Elrond, come back! And it cuts away. And we're back to, okay. Yep, here we are. They're back in totally, well, it is Mordor.
Totally not Mordor.
Not Mordor. I mean, the show unironically thinks you haven't guessed what this place is from the very beginning. I mean, you could tell from the map, and it reveals at the end when it's like, what shall we call this place now? And so the show actually thinks it's still a mystery because it does this big reveal. Oh my goodness. Okay, so we're here now, and Galadriel and Theo are hiding, and I was like, from what? And it's there are like orcs in the distance, but there was only like maybe 12 orcs most alive at the end of the last episode, and they had a big battle, and most of them were dead. And the Númenóreans still vastly outnumber the
Wasn't
orcs.
the battle with the villages they discovered? And so the orcs were in a different spot,
No.
and then they let...
The orcs come in after they defeat the villagers. And then they try...
That's right, because then they try getting away with the so-called sword axe thing.
Yep, and the Númenóreans come in with their cavalry and just slaughter them all. And the context of the show is trying to say, is that the orcs were defeated. Now, even though the army that assails the town... So this is the interpretation that we need to figure out and understand here. The army that attacked the village, okay, was either all the orcs that, Adar gathered, which would make sense, because why would you attack with a smaller force, which has high chance of being defeated, because guess what? They were defeated. So if you had more orcs in reserve, if you actually used them in this fight, you might have defeated the Númenóreans and wiped out the village, is not a problem. Or, because the orcs that actually do attack the village is nowhere near the number that they showed in other parts in the episodes. Like they show all the torches going down the mountain look like thousands.
That makes it look like hundreds or thousands that are heading to this tower, and then they just suddenly gradually disappear and only come in kind of small bands instead of all together, which they've shown they can do.
Mm-hmm. And the tower that collapsed and crushed a couple of orcs that only looked like 50. It wouldn't reduce their numbers massively at all. But now this episode seems to be confirming that there's still orcs everywhere. So where the hell were they in the battle? They might have been really useful because guess what? You got beaten in that battle. Extra numbers might have helped out just a tad. But now, no, there's orcs just roaming everywhere all of a sudden.
And of course, everything is orange instead of grey. There's not merely many fires to light up the ash or smoke or anything, but everything is still orange.
I know, it's like, I don't know, it's hot ash. That's what it is.
But nobody's like jumping up and down saying I'm stepping on hot ash or not touching anything. So everything's cool enough to walk and touch.
Yeah. So Galadriel, like we have neither position or reinforcement. And then it's like, it is over. And of course, that's the line Elrond said to her. And that makes her like go, like realization. Because it's like, not for me, I won't allow it. It's like, we must. And then she's like, has a realization moment. It's like, I'm saying the thing Elrond said to me. I'm telling him he must give up. But Elrond's telling me, guess what? These are completely different circumstances. Galadriel, if you're thinking that this is like, oh, you're right, I should have listened to Elrond all along because of this situation where I'm telling Theo, no, different circumstances. In fact, everything in the show has confirmed that you were absolutely right. Sauron and evil is around. There's a flippin' army of orcs growing and breeding and everything. And so, my goodness, like, she just thinks like, I should have listened to Elrond, God for the Undying Lands and everything. Númenóreans wouldn't have come. Guess what? The Númenóreans wouldn't have saved the Southlanders. Southlanders would have been wiped out, and Adar still would have gotten his... Actually, would he have found the evil sword thingy? He technically didn't need it, because all they needed to do was open the spillway. But But I know he probably would have found the sword because Theo got it, and a number of ways could have gotten to him in that. But what I'm saying is, basically, the events would have played out pretty much the same with more dead Southlanders if Galadriel hadn't come. So the concept of the show is justifying that she was right.
But you'd have less dead Numenorians. That would be about the only difference, really.
Probably, yeah. But I think fewer Numenorians died than the Southlanders they managed to save. We see maybe 10 at most dead Numenorians. A couple of Southlanders died in the explosion as well. But even if nothing really was achieved and it would have been the same, Galadriel is like, you didn't cause it. If you didn't come and it just played out the same, you're not the cause, clearly. But in this episode, they're trying to play off she even says it's her fault. And I'm like, are you seriously trying to give us or make us swallow that Galadriel's going through some kind of redemptive, humbling thing?
Oh, just wait. It gets worse later on with another conversation.
Yeah.
This will come back.
But that's exactly, with that other conversation, that's what they're trying to get us to swallow, when everything in the show actually says that Galadriel was right. And the fact that she needs to withdraw and stop fighting now because of the volcano, it's a completely different context. It doesn't mean Elrond was right. But they're trying to say that she's like, oh no, what am I saying? And then she even says in this, it's her fault. I'm not sure if we'll get the dialogue, but if I played it out, maybe we'll get it. Because I gotta be careful with copyright as well. Yeah, oh yeah, there it is. What are you so bothered about? It isn't your fault. And then she says, yes, it is. How?
A volcano erupting and people dying is her fault.
Is it because she was tricked by Adar with the sword, but the sword was already gone at that point? In fact, the sword was yeeted off the way up to the Elven Tower before the Numenorians even arrived. He gave it to the peasant guy. So you had no power to stop it because you're incompetent and awful. And so it's like the show is actually trying to get us like, oh, Galadriel, she's humbling herself. That's not what you've shown. You're saying something which contradicts what you've shown. You're trying to gaslight us.
This whole episode, in my head, is a lot of wrong and useless self-blame. Yes. Everybody blames themselves when it doesn't make sense.
You're absolutely right. Yeah. Yep. And it doesn't make sense. And so this just, instead of making us think, oh, Galadriel, she's going through something and she might grow from it. It's like, no, she's not. And it's bullcrap. I don't. So anyway, that's that. Then there's a scene where Elendil is looking for his son, Isildur, and he sees someone that might looks like him. And we're skipping all the times where we see Elendil, but there he is. So he's watching, and he thinks someone might be his son behind the horse, and it wasn't his son. It's this guy, and he's like, oh no, where is my son? And then he sees the queen. And this is interesting because we find out, this is all spoilers, so the queen is blind, okay? And they're playing it out that she's blind right already, because look, she's holding onto the guy's shoulder and she needs him to guide it. But later on, she says, has the smoke cleared yet? And they're like, it was cleared for ages, and implying the fact that they're trying to say she couldn't see because there was too much smoke in the way. But in this scene, there's no smoke blocking people's vision, and so how on earth could you not notice that she was blind?
I think they were trying to make it like she was pretending that she wasn't.
Yeah, she was. You're right. She's pretending.
But this man seems to be observant enough to realise that she's holding on his shoulder
and
she's not injured.
Yes.
And has burns around her eyes.
Oh, yeah, yeah. It would be impossible for this guy.
But it makes it seem that he doesn't figure it out until she doesn't dodge a branch.
Well, actually, I think he knows when it's revealed because of the smoke conversation later, because he's like, I'm not saying anything, and he looks forward. It's Elendil that specifically is shocked by this revelation. But
that's
I'm
what
saying,
I'm talking about.
Yeah, you're right.
He should be able to figure it out from this one little spot.
Easily. And especially because they don't show us her trying to mount the horse or anything like it. Like, so many small little movers would give away that she can't see, because she's not experienced blind person, so she should be fumbling about, tripping over her feet.
Tripping on all these branches that are all over the ground.
But anyway, the show wants you to think or feel that it's a big reveal later on when it's revealed that she's suddenly blind, when, if that's the case, bullcrap, because if she was blind in this scene, that would not play out this way at all. Anyway, instead, they want to try and do the scene like it's revealed that Isildur is dead. And I was like, okay. I wasn't sure if they were going to do the reveal that is actually not dead in this episode, because Isildur, I'm pretty sure he can't actually be dead because of the greater canon, unless the showrunners really don't care about, the plot story. But no, he can't be dead, right? And so, as a result, I was expecting Lyndall to arrive. But that's the other thing, is like, if Isildur is alive, and he will be alive, why didn't he double check?
The horse will rescue him.
A horse?
Don't forget that.
Oh, that's right.
Horse.
You're right. The horse will find him. Yeah, that's exactly what the setup was. The horse is going to find him. It's like the horse is more willing to double check over his own dad.
Or his best friend.
The thing is, I can't really blame these people for assuming he's dead, because we saw what happened. Like the plot armor it takes to survive that, it would be like, it's insane. And so perhaps I can't blame them for double checking, but it makes me wonder, like, I don't know, like, you probably could just look in and just see the dead, charred body, and it's like, you don't have to dig through much. It's like, yep, all right, he's gone, But anyway, they clearly didn't do that, because this should all be alive, and there we go. So now we're with Theo and Galadriel. So, I'm wondering how they all got separated.
Because they were all in this one little town, and you could hear other people calling out when she's stumbling around.
Exactly.
And then she just ends up with this one kid and nobody else.
Yeah.
But they're within shouting distance.
You would think the very first thing after a catastrophe like that would be gather together and check who's okay. It would be really hard to get separated in that situation. But the show wants us to believe that they, not only did Galadriel and Theo get separated from Isildur, and the Queen got separated, but then they eventually found it, but the Queen was separated, but also Bronwyn and Discount Legolas were also, like,
they were all standing within meters of each other when
exactly.
this thing hit.
All they have to do is say, "Oi, where are you? I'm over here." Okay, found, done. But
Ta-da!
no, they're all separated, but this reveals another issue, okay? Before we get to the issue, just need to point out some awful dialogue. Galadriel says, Theo's like, he was basically asking, is his mother alive or dead? And she says, what cannot be known hollows the mind. Fill it not with guesswork. It's just like...
And I just sat there and went, I don't know if my brain's broken or her mouth, but this is not making sense. But it could be that my brain's broken by this point.
And so I was like, what? We really can't go long at all without one of these brain-dead pseudo-intellectual attempts to sound Tolkienian, because that's what this attempt was, and it's so dumb. Because let's actually think about it for a bit. Let's break it down. What cannot be known hollows the mind. It's like, no, because sometimes you like, thinking about something is what leads you to discover what it is, the truth, what you didn't know. But she's basically saying, perfect. It's completely useless to think about things that you just can't know. But because
if you don't think about them, you can't figure them out, or use science or any other manner of discovery to find out the answers.
But in the context of what she's talking about, it's in specific reference to finding out if Theo's mum is alive. So Galadriel is actually saying that there is no way to know if Theo's mum is alive or not. So don't even bother thinking about it, because it will hollow your mind. Don't fill it with guesswork. But then she goes on to reveal that there's a very practical way for them to know if the mum's alive or not, and she's clearly thinking about it. and
Hollow mind, remember?
Like, oh my goodness. And so she says, we will go above the ridge where the Númenórean camp is, but that's where the Númenóreans will be, along with any survivors, your mother included. I was like, oh, okay, so you can know if they're alive or not.
You just have to walk a little bit.
And then I was like, but hang on, did all the villagers know the Númenóreans camped there? It's like, that would, like, the Númenóreans arrive, fight, and they're just settling down now, and we don't know how much time really passed, but I'm sure the Numenoreans won't go, oh, by the way, we have like a camp over there to everyone. In fact, it's very likely that a lot of them don't know, because shock horror, Theo doesn't know this, which also indicates that a lot of the villagers wouldn't know this information, including the mother, so how is Galadriel so sure that the mother will go to this camp? She has no confirmation on that. But she says it to Theo like it's guaranteed when she could be dead in a ditch somewhere.
Or wandering around
wandering lost.
Because everybody gets lost here, apparently.
Exactly. She has no guarantee that the mother knows they're there. But the thing is, though, the show basically is, later on, reveals everyone does know the way there, and so the Numenoreans must have just told everyone, except Theo. Theo's the only one that wasn't told where the Numenoreans' camp was. Everyone else knew because they gathered there without needing to be told. So dumb.
He was too busy sitting on the side looking at an axe.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Show is stupid. Okay, so yeah, they keep talking. And they talk about orcs, and she's like, be wary, orcs. Just, I wish the writers would pay attention to the meaning of their words. If they just did that, they would avoid a lot of, like, stupidity. Because look, this line here, be wary, the orcs will move in daylight now. Not at daytime, in daylight. And I was like, do you understand what you actually said then? No, the orcs still can't move in daylight. Oh, actually, the show has shown them moving in daylight, just overcloak, but they want to tell you. Again, this show gaslights you. Says one thing, shows something completely opposite. But anyway, the show is trying to tell you that the orcs can't move the orcs can move in daylight. Now, I was like, no, they technically, by your logic, they can't, because it's the ash cloud that's blocking the daylight that allows them to move during the daytime. There's a difference between walking in daylight and during daytime, but something as basic as that, the writers miss. And then you have a contradictory line like that. Okay, so then Theo asks how many orcs she's killed. She says many. He says good, and then she's like, no, it's not. It darkens the heart to call dark deeds good. I was like, what, killing orcs, saving people's lives?
What's she doing? Torturing them and, skinning them? Like, then perhaps it's not good, but defending yourself and your family against evil creatures, good?
Yeah, I mean, orcs are pretty irredeemably evil in the Lord of the Rings canon, okay? Because I'm not an expert on the larger lore and everything like that, and so I've heard things mentioned by lots of different people, and I heard one thing that there wasn't an attempt to try and work with the orcs to see if they would be good and if they could be redeemed, and no, there was no hope. They're just like inherently corrupted and vile creatures and stuff. But anyway, the larger context of the Lord of the Rings indicates this quite strongly as well. And so, I don't know, killing horrible, vile, evil things that want to eat your children and stuff like that, I'd find it pretty satisfying, especially defending your village against, but anyway, those are dark deeds. It'll poison the heart so much that it'll give place for evil to grow within you. Again, they're just trying to say, they say it gives place for evil to thrive inside. And then I was like, she confessing? Is this like her just, saying, because she's an awful person doing awful things. She said she'll murder and torture all the orcs in front of Adar and make him watch and stuff. And so it gave me vibes, they're trying to make Galadriel see the error of her ways, even though everything is done in the show has shown it was perfectly justified. She was right. Like, she was not wrong. This thing that's happened, Mordor and stuff, it wasn't her fault. And so the show is trying to gaslight you. He's like, Galadriel thinks it's your fault. Isn't she sad? She's learning the errors of her ways. Like, no, she hasn't. So, it's just crap. Just lots of dialogue drivel crap. And then she gives Theo her sword.
Oh my goodness, this bit drove me nuts. I'm like, so give the little inexperienced boy the bigger, dangerous weapon instead of your little dagger as a backup in case the orcs get through you, the experienced warrior. Yeah, give him the better weapon. Yeah, that works.
If you're attacked by orcs, she's like, give it back, give it back. But she's
fast on his feet, and she said you fight with your feet.
Oh, well, there you go. She fight with your feet. But Galadriel is so amazing, she could probably just destroy like a horde of orcs without a sword anyway.
Just her little dagger.
Yeah,
of
yeah.
course.
And remember, she says fight with your feet, not your hands. She still has her feet. She would kick him to death. And I could honestly believe that. She starts to do kung fu spin kicks and all that stuff. We saw Discount Legolas do one in the show and then just stand there and get hit. By the way, fight scene Autopsy coming out soon on Shadiversity on the atrocious battle of the previous episode. In-depth, detailed, and some of the crap you find when you break it down slowly. You think that, like, that episode 6, the worst in the whole show by a long shot. Alright, so that's coming out. Stay tuned for that on Shadiversity. Okay, yes, she gives away a sword. And this is the scene where the Queen is on the horse, they're talking, and she says, how much further until we clear the smoke? And they're like, well, they're silent. They're like, we've cleared it for several hours, indicating that she didn't see this. Oh, hang on. There wasn't much smoke in the previous scene. But they're acting like it's this big, tragic reveal. And then I'm wondering, how did she get blind? And look, I guess there is cases of spontaneous blindness. If a huge shock, it happened in like World War II, there are cases of it and stuff. And so, but I don't know, I didn't see her go through much shell shock or anything like that. I'm on, like, what caused the blindness?
Like, you see the embers when the house is about to fall down. And so I saw the embers and went, she's going to be blind. They're going to make a big reveal out of these small little embers after a giant ash cloud going past her and not injuring her at all. These little embers are going to blind the Queen. And that's exactly what happened.
Oh, yeah. And by the way, I don't think she's permanently blind. They're going to do something to have her eyesight come back, of course. Yes. Okay, so it's so tragic. She's like, no one need notice. Just pretend. And it's like, so she actually wants to hide her blindness from everyone else. And I'm like, maybe? I mean, is she worried that people will be afraid that she's weak now or something? I don't know, but sure, okay, that's a big issue. And then, new scene, and they're sending away Discount Gandalf. And he basically can understand language now. This guy's just speaking to him. Here's where, I got a map to your stars. There's a village of humans over there, and it seems like he can fully understand language. That happened, I guess. And look, he's leaving. Who cares? Who cares about any of... you don't like the Half-Woods. You don't care about this story. That's what I mean. This episode, nothing massive... Well, a lot of dumb stuff happens. But not as brain-breaking as episode 6. It's just a lot of stupid crap. Continual crap that you don't care about. It's boring sludge. And it's the standard for this show, honestly. This is just like back to form in Rings of Power. He leaves... She gives him an apple, boo-hoo, don't care, and now she's sad, and she's like, reminiscing, like, I'm just a half-foot, that's all I'll ever be. Yes, you can't change species. Of course you'll always be a half-foot. Like, this show is so dumb, and what I hate about this... doesn't take much effort to come up with a line that achieves kind of the sentiment you're wanting the audience to feel. That doesn't sound retarded. Like, look at this, right? What if she said, "I'm just a foolish little girl, and that's all I'll ever be." That she was wrong about the whole.
But you could change that.
Yeah, you can change being foolish, okay, but you can't change just being a half-foot. It's like, even if you achieve great things, become a great warrior and everything, you'll still be a hobbit half-foot. That's all you'll ever be. You can't change species. So, the stupidity in the dialogue is going just as strong as ever in this show. It's relentless. So, off to bed. She goes to bed. Back to Galadriel. She's talking with Theo, the kid, and we finally get to find out where her husband is.
First mention of him.
First mention. I mean, the husband is well alive in the canon and everything like that. She has a daughter that marries Elrond, okay? But now it's revealed that, no, her husband is dead. Yep, they killed off her husband. Okay? So I just came I watch this show and I want to put it out of my head. And then when I look at my notes, it reminds me, it's like, oh, yeah, that moment. Because there is something just gold in this. Like they are so consistent with Galadriel's awfulness, okay? We find out Galadriel's husband is dead, okay? And the last interaction she had with him was being an arsehole. Perfectly in line with her character.
Last time I saw him, I told him his armor didn't fit right.
She chided him, calling him a silver clam. And I'm like, why am I not surprised that the last interaction this version of Galadriel has with her dead husband was her being an arsehole to him? Of friggin' course! This bloody show. Like, with all the criticisms, you can give them this one thing. They are so damn consistent in how bad they are. And Galadriel is so consistently awful. You think she can't get worse, and then we get pearlers like this. My goodness. Oh, I can't believe... Like, you didn't need to do it. But no, Galadriel is awful. This is just the character. And so she just was a cow to her husband in their very last interaction.
Though there was a little perler in here that I actually enjoyed.
Yeah.
Because she mentioned that when she first met her husband, he came across her dancing. And the boy goes, "You were dancing?" And I thought the exact same thing. You were dancing?
I know. This Galadriel could be happy when she's not on a horse. Like, gosh. Still, I found that amazing. Like, the last interaction with her husband was that. So this version of Galadriel, like, is just she's unrecognizable from the Galadriel we have here when my lovely wife speaks, because there's proper Galadriel, wonderful, strong.
Yeah, this one here,
right, powerful, feminine, all the things, caring, considerate, and this Galadriel that we have on the screen is just awful, just conceited cow. It was just, I hate her so much. And I still can't believe this is the protagonist, the main character of the show, and they make him someone this unlikable, this consistently unlikable. Okay, so Theo goes on to say that all that's bad that's happened is his fault because he gave away power, he gave power to the enemy. And I was like, oh, it's talking about the sword hilt. He must be. It's like, because all that did was open a spillway. I mean, if Adar didn't get the sword hilt, he could have just broken open the dam and achieved what he wanted. The fact that the show wants you to believe that the entire plan was hinging on this magical sword key bullcrap is such laughable nonsense. I'm going to be bringing it up a lot. I'm still speechless that they think that was some big thing. And it's just break open the spillway. That's all they needed.
And her next line, Shad.
What was her next line?
She says, "It's not your fault." Because she's already said that this is her fault. Because she follows on, "It's not your fault. You didn't intend for this to happen." But she's already claimed that this is her fault. Mm-hmm. So therefore, she intended this to happen. This is her logic.
Holy crap. Hang on, like... If you're right, I mean, she says it's her fault, and then it's not Theo's fault because he didn't intend it to happen, and therefore the thing that justifies someone's fault here is intention, and she thinks it's her fault, which means she's Sauron, people! Confirmed! Galadriel and Sauron, it's all part of a master plan! But what's the reality is the writers are too dumb to pick up on that nuance. And
it's the one episode and they can't put those two things together. Yeah. That fault lays with intent, and therefore her saying it's her fault means she intended it.
They're so dumb, because if anything, wouldn't she be figuring out like fault is intent, and then she'd be like, I didn't intend this, so it mustn't be my fault. And yeah, it wasn't your fault, Galadriel. The fact is...
They don't put those two bits together, no.
No, oh gosh. And then she goes on to say, "Do not take the burden of this day upon your shoulders. You may find it difficult to put it down." And you know she's referring to herself. She feels guilty. She feels it's all her fault. The line is delivered in the exact way that she's basically introspecting when she says it. And we, like, again, the show. You're not getting us there. You haven't earned this. You haven't justified it in any measure, okay? now the fact that Galadriel is thinking this is her fault just makes her feel even more narcissistic, because everything has to be about Galadriel, even when it's objectively not her fault. She's saying it's her fault because it all has to be about her. Gosh, it's just keeps on going.
And then her little friend says, how can I let it go? Like, this self-blame that he's got. And all I'm sitting there thinking is, she has no idea, because all she can do is blame herself and others. All she can do is blame.
Galadriel is the last person you want to take advice from, buddy. Oh my goodness. And then there's a line like, there are powers beyond darkness in this world, perhaps on days such as this, with little choice but to trust in their designs. So what she's implying there, that this just Mordor destroying the Southlands, all this death, was the design of God, and that it's their will. So it's holy crap! It's like this is almost
I
like,
don't want to trust your gods if this is what they do.
This is like the atheistic argument. I'll strongman atheists, because even a lot of them aren't that dumb to make this argument that God causes evil in the world. It's like, no, God has given people free will and they cause evil. All right. But Galadriel is saying here that it's part of God's, like, the greater power's design.
She's like, I don't know how, but we've got to trust that it is.
So, yeah, it's a terrible contextualization. And it, like, what if she said something like this? Because it's really easy. It's like, there is always good in the world, and good will always overcome, for the light will not abandon us if we do not abandon it. So I just something like that. Really simple logic that might give people hope. Instead, she's like, yeah, it might have been God's will that everyone died in Mount Doom. And holy crap! What I love is that Theo basically calls her out of that. My home is gone. You're saying is that was his will, and then she's like, I don't know. It's like, holy crap! I think this was written by people who just, I don't know, have a like axe to grind against theology and stuff, because this really rings like the argument of God causes evil in the world kind of thing that you see people use when they're attacking religion and stuff. It really rings like that. And then there's no pushback, because Theo's line, where is it? You can't see it. She's like, you can't see their designs. I don't know, it was before. Yeah, my home is gone. And then, copyright, gotta be careful. Where's the design in that? And Galadriel's like, I don't know. Like, yeah. And it's so easy to give like dialogue like, we are not responsible for the evil in the world. Our choices to oppose it, or something like, any number of things, okay? Instead, the context of this show is actually trying to give culpability of all this evil to the greater wills and powers. Like, freaking hell, if Tolkien heard that this was an interpretation of Rings of Power. We've recently done a video on Night's Watch explaining all the evil sentiments in Rings of Power. Holy crap, this just adds a massive one to the list. This is basically saying God is responsible for evil in the world according to this interpretation and presentation in the show. Okay? It's very anti-theistic in concept, and think about how Tolkien would feel about that in his work, which he said was explicitly Christian, even Catholic. I can't remember, but it was one or the other. That it had very deep Christian themes in it. Oh, okay, so that makes me flip out. Then orcs kind of hear him. They hide, and is like, "Can you smell anything?" All I can smell is ash.
If that's all he could smell, why would he stop?
Yeah, good point. But they heard the sword thing, I think. Thing is, though, we see a good number of orcs here. And the context of the show is basically implying that there are heaps of orcs. They're just swarming this place now. Come from? Because either Adar was a bleeding moron and didn't use them.
It's not the tunnels are flooded.
Yeah, exactly. You're right. They're definitely not in the tunnels. And so Adar either didn't use them in the fight or they appeared out of nowhere. Both are really bad and awful writing. Because, like, let's play it for a bit and just to see, because there's a shot that just gives us, shows us some numbers. And they keep walking past, and look, there's like 5, 6 that we saw there. There's even more. And so, and the fact that they're implying that they might run into, like, it's like just orcs swarmed the land suddenly. They just appeared. So that was annoying. And then can't smell anything but ash, walks away. And Elrond and Durin are digging in rock. Okay. I found this really bizarre. I was like, what's their plan? Are they just going to dig out the mithril themselves?
So he's going to get enough mithril for their plan to be to cover every elf.
Immersed
them
in...
all in mithril light, which doesn't seem like one little nugget doesn't seem to be able to light up much at all. And so that's an awful lot for him to mine by himself with Elrond watching.
I know.
Doing nothing to help.
And remember, even though the show has demonstrated that you only need a little mithril to permanently thing, and they could just have a sun bath.
They don't know that very well.
Well, the show, that's not what the show is actually telling us. The show has told us by Celebrimbor that they need insane amounts of mithril. And then there's two guys, and I was like, what is their plan here? Just to keep digging? And like, they already know the mithril is there. So the fact that Durin breaks open a little rock and looks in and he sees lots of mithril just confirms what they already knew. So
this was a mithril mine.
Yes! We knew that! What's your plan? Stupid flippin' show. There's a funny little line from Elrond where things start to shake and an elf is telling a dwarf, you need to let the rock settle. Like, elf, I think the dwarf knows how to mine. Shut up and let him do his work. But anyway. So it's nonsense. You're just wondering, this isn't going to achieve spit. But the show is trying to make you think that they're working towards something meaningful. They've banded together against the will of the king, and they will save the elves, even if they find it, they're going to mine mountains of this stuff and get it and deliver it? It's ludicrous. It's utter bullcrap. But anyway, that's what the show wants you to think. They keep digging, and they... Is this where they get caught? Yeah, basically.
Before that, they have a discussion about their whole rock chopping competition. And Elrond once again says he lies. He's lied. And he wasn't really exhausted. He was just a little bit winded. That his main goal was just to be able to have some time to talk to Durin. So he's like, by the way, I lied again.
It's compulsive by this point. You cannot trust a thing that comes out of this jerk's mouth. Gosh. So... and again, Durin's like, brothers or whatever. And they basically, they uncover it, and they have the scene where he looks in, he gasps, and I don't want to...
There's mithril and a mithril.
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
Like, you found the exact thing that you knew was there. And look, they might say it's more than they how much did they expect would be there? They obviously assumed there was enough to get mountains for the elves. And so what they're kind of trying to say is, like, it's so close. All they have to do is open up this small thing. But then, hang on, there's still instability issues. I'm sure even when you start trying to mine the mithril, maybe it'll still collapse and everything. They were shaking just with those small little taps here. And so...
Then you can kind of see why the king would be concerned, because if small little taps to this little side of a giant cavern can make instability, what's it going to do when they start pulling it out?
Yeah, I know, but I still don't like that, because they're dwarves. Since when have dwarves been scared of caves in? They'll figure out how to secure the roof or something.
They should be able to,
yeah.
But they seem to be incapable in this show.
Exactly. There's so much incompetence that it just makes sense that the dwarves are incompetent as well. And so they want to reveal, you follow the... mithril vein down. If you can even see it, look how dark that is. And then they're trying to show you, look at all the... Like, you can barely see it. But anyway, lots of mithril, supposedly. The king finds them. They get caught out. And, okay. So, Elrond has to leave. He gets cast out and is mopey. And he's like, oh, I've still got mithril. What will I do? He's holding it in his hand. And then there's a confrontation between Durin and his dad.
And this is the mithril that he gave back and has now again.
He did give...
He gave it back, and that's what turned the leaf...
That's right. So how did he get it again?
Suddenly he's got it back again.
Look. It must be like, again, headcanon. The show doesn't show us, but Durin must have grabbed it when he called Elrond and gave it to him before they... Anyway, so he has it again, people. For reasons that the show doesn't tell us. All right, so they have a conversation here, and just weird kind of things where Durin accuses his father of squandering their futures so he can cling to the past. And I'm like, how exactly? I mean, maybe his futures, because Mithril could lead to a great flourishing future, but what past is he clinging to? Because again, we're not given proper context or reason why the dad is so reluctant unless he's aware of the Balrog, which if he is, just tell Durin that, problem solved.
Because the king hasn't mentioned the past in his reasoning at all. So saying that that's what he's clinging to, it doesn't make sense.
Just like a lot of this show. Okay, so then squandering past. Is there the line where he's like, he's as much of a brother to me as if he'd been fired from my own mother's womb?
Well, eventually, yes. The king talks about fire and stone and such, and then goes in it, and then Durin the son.
Right. Yes, it is in this scene.
Says he's as if he came from my mother's womb, and the king goes off and is like,
"How dare you!" Basically, besmirch your mother's name with something like that. But again, like that is such an extreme declaration of love and relationship. The show hasn't brought us there. Not a bit. To the point where he would commit treason and all this stuff. And again, it's unjustified because Elrond's not going to die. And I love your point. And even if the immortality leaves, he'll probably still outlive Durin anyway. What a golden observation. So, because of these reasons, none of this conflict is important to the audience. Because it doesn't matter. This isn't such a serious thing, but Durin is acting like Elrond is going to die in a week, and he has to do something because he's his secret lover. It's like that. It's that extreme. Anyway, he basically gets disinherited. Is that the word?
Yeah, he's disinherited him as seems to be
takes off the thing which seems to represent. I don't know.
Yeah, it seems like that's him disinheriting and saying you're not going to need that anymore. You're not going to be king. That's what it seems to me. Oh, sorry, guys. I forgot to appear on screen.
Oh, yes. We love seeing you, my dear. And then Durin picks it up and is like, leave it. It's not meant for you now. Something like that. So I don't care. It's like there's supposed to be some moving thing. And the reason why I don't care is because the reasons for his actions is nonsense. So why do I care about the consequences now? He's disinherited. They could all die, just like if everything ended the last episode and they all died, and I'd be happier for it, because the characters suck and this show is awful. Okay, back to the Hobbit Half-Foots.
Not hobbits. Hobbits are nice. I like hobbits.
You know, this is the thing. I kind of agree with you there, but it's such a disingenuous, loophole that they're trying to use to not be caught up on the copyright thing, because Tolkien said that there are 3 breeds of Hobbit, and Half-Foots is one of those breeds.
I understand that.
Yeah, but they're so different.
But it makes me sad whenever I think of them as hobbits, because I feel like they're betraying hobbits.
Yeah, hobbits were great. These Half-Foot hobbits are awful, vile people, and I can't wait till we get to that, because they confirm it. They confirm a lot of things, and I might be in the scene, actually. And take a look outside. All the food is back. And small little thing, okay? The dad says, feast tonight. We'll have enough for feast tonight and still have enough left over to last till frozen fish.
Which I'm assuming means winter.
Must mean winter, but that is a bizarre way to say this. Fish don't get frozen in winter per se. They can survive in freezing water and swim around. And
yeah, the fish don't freeze. They just go deeper.
They just go deeper. And so, the fact that they're associating winter with frozen fish, it's so dumb.
Maybe just when they catch them and hang them up, they freeze.
Yeah. And then something about, I don't know, apple sausage, or it's supposed to be sauce, but I believe it's sausage. It's just stupid lines, okay? Gobbledygook talking because reasons, okay? And anyway, then they're collecting water, and Poppy, she notices a footprint. There's a big person nearby, and the footprint is right in your path of travel. So it was really close. It's very likely they've seen them already. This is how alert they. I thought they had scouts that were always watching for big
Like
people.
little meerkats,
Yeah.
always watching.
But no, it turns out like this is how they get alerted for the big people. A footprint that could have walked through them any time. And so bullcrap that they're, so good at hiding for that. She drops it. The thing floats down, and this is a very weird looking character, okay? Like, everyone thought this character was a guy. They called him, like, I don't know, Eminem Sauron or something like that. But you can clearly tell there's a bit of extra weight in the chest area.
Surprise!
So, am I supposed to ask for their pronouns before I mention who this person is? But it's a woman with a very mannish face. It's just, I just don't know.
Feminine, apparently.
Feminine. You know very little about what these people are. They're evil, because just look at the way they look. They're just, I'm evil, all right? So there's no surprise that they do evil stuff.
I have to say, though, there are a lot of short haircuts in this series, considering...
You're right.
In, like, Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, everybody seems to have long, shaggy hair.
Not only that, like, Discount Legolas has a manicure fade, like, on the side. Like he has to attend a barber, and they clearly just fade the sides of the hair in so it gradually goes down to... It's bizarre.
And so this is just another example with really short hair where I'm kind of used to everybody having lots of hair.
Yeah, because...
beards, long hair, shaggy hair, and it just kind of gets cut occasionally with a knife.
For a medieval-like period, I mean, there was definitely grooming and everything like that, but it was more cumbersome to keep short hair and to be permanently employed as a barber. Good luck, right? And so people would just cut it on there when they need and stuff, and they probably might have been, I don't know, a local tavern might do your haircuts or whatever, something like that. Because I'm not saying there weren't people who might be better at the craft than not and could have been known for cutting hair specifically, especially people who probably provided clothes and stuff for the king and everything. There was probably fashion type or barbers in that sense, right? But for the general kind of populace, it's very odd that,
so many of them would be so
longer hair
tailored.
seems to be a...
Yeah, their hair would be so barbered and tidy.
Okay, so basically they're looking for, obviously, they've got the flower, so they're looking for the big guy. They're about to walk off. Poppy jumps out and says, no, he's gone in. Now, I could not tell. Actually, this is, it looks from the context of what we're seeing, Poppy is betraying the big guy, because the direction that they're moving, it's so hard to see.
I can't even see. It's so dark.
So you see the tree, right? And they're moving in this direction away, when the context where we saw the guys, Discount Gandalf sitting next to that tree, and they were, from the perspective of the tree, looking towards the camera. And the guy was saying that there's a human settlement in the direction from the perspective where the camera is looking, and these people are specifically walking in a different direction from what the previous scene indicated where the wizard was going.
So she's just actually pointed them in the correct direction.
It really looks like she's pointing them in the correct direction where Discount Gandalf is going, and she's betraying him. Because they're walking in the opposite direction from where the guy told him to go. That's my reading of both scenes, and there's nothing to indicate that I'm wrong here. And then Poppy goes out, no, he went in that direction. And I was like, but I think he really did go in that direction. And again, the creators of this show would be that incompetent that they probably would be unaware of it. Because what they actually want is for you to think that Poppy is misdirecting him, sending him in off the track.
That's what you would think.
Yeah, even though it really does look like. And then it turns out that they're like, I don't know, super ninjas. Okay, so
yes, they vanish and reappear and vanish and reappear.
So look at it. He went that way, and she's actually pointing in the direction where the guy told him to go from the perspective of that tree. So these half-foot hobbits are awful. Even Nori is willing to stab her, friend in the back, even though she was worried about him. But then it turns out that, what he did actually brought food back to everyone. And so you'd think that was the moment of forgiveness and that I did the wrong thing. And now she's like, no, he's that way, go kill him. But it feels like it. She looks away, looks back on them, go on now, and they're gone. They were all on that hill. She turns away for like a second or two, looks back, and they disappeared. And then, I can't stand this, right? They appear a little bit, a little bit over like here, right? Just off to her side with their hand above her head. She should, in her field of view, they just appear there. How did they?
Super ninja!
It's insane. And so she's like, oh, where did they go, right? And then the very next scene is they're right in front of her, just above her because they're taller. And now she looks away. And they're right there. Now she's looking away, but the previous, just a couple of seconds ago, she was literally had her head turned in that direction, and they're in front of her. So it's magic. You can turn invisible. They are magic. They have magic. So that's the most logical explanation I can give to explain this.
Or, according to chat, they are Batman.
They're Batman. Batman, don't insult Batman. Don't do that. Oh, I need a drink. Oh, okay. So, anyway, yeah, they just appear right there, and for some reason, grab a leaf or twig from her hair. Why?
I have no idea. I just kind
on?
of shook my head at that point. I'm like, why would they even do that?
And they're right in front of it. Anyway, the dad comes out. Don't touch him and everything. They put their hand on the fire, absorb the fire, blow out of their hand, and holy crap, instant immolation just set all their carts on fire. Just boom! Like that. And my first reaction was like, hang on, are all the half-foots in those? Yes! And I was like, oh no, they loaded them up with food. They're not in the carts. Damn it!
They're sleeping under the stars tonight.
I thought, hey!
Now they're all going to be whinging they're hungry.
The half-foot purge finally happened. We're waiting for it. Like, damn it. It was just the food they collected. So, anticlimactic. They had me going there. But this is the thing, right? The half-foots are acting like a genocide is happening. Like there are people and things, but there's actually not. There's no one in the carts. It's just loaded with food.
Yes, but I guess this is everything they own in the world because they take it with them everywhere.
Yes,
and so it's all their food that they've just spent the day gathering.
Burning down, maybe.
Yeah. This is about all that they have. They have no fields. They have no mines. They have their little bushy wagons.
Saw someone in the chat. Best part of the show so far. No, that would only be the case if they were in the wagons, guys. They're that awful. They're a murdering, psychopathic, society cult people. Oh, they're awful. So anyway, yeah, there's auto-target immolation. All right, so then the scene passes, and we see, look at this camp. That's a big camp. The Numenorians set up when they were charging on horseback full pelt from the boats to... So, where did they have time to do this?
Because they didn't even leave the little stable boys behind. They took them with them.
Exactly. The stable boy was on the horses charging as well. They really implied that as soon as they made landfall, they just beelined straight to the Elven Tower to help the Southlanders. But someone was here to set all these tents up and these, cloth walls and things. Sure, look, I don't. It's just continual nonsense, but the show is it's relentless. It's like I'm becoming numb to it, and I don't want to let them get away with bullcrap like this. But it's just constant. So anyway, they're in the camp. The horse wants to go away. As like, oh, no one can make it go, so they just let the horse go, and the horse is now riding to find Isildur, which is so obvious.
Come back and
Yeah.
bring Isildur back.
I wonder what will happen. Like, I wonder if they're going to try and do the, I don't know, because they love taking things from better work, specifically the Jackson trilogy. And so you know how the horse kind of finds Aragorn when he fell off the cliff, and Aragorn climbs up. I wonder if they'll just have this horse come back with Isildur like unconscious on it.
Oh, absolutely, they will.
But they won't give any context or explanation. That the horse just like used its hoofs, picked him up, put him on its back, and then trotted back. Right.
Looney Tunes moment.
I know. Like they're that incompetent that I wouldn't put it past them that they don't give any context. If they, and they probably will just have the horse go back to the or something. He'll be alive, right? Somehow they probably won't explain how he survived, and then he just needs a horse, and he might have to fight an orc or two, or whatever.
We've got a comment. I've never rooted for villains so hard in my life. So hard in a show before. Like, I kind of getting that.
Yeah, yep, I agree. Okay, so Elendil basically he says I should have never pulled that elf on board, and I'm like, yep, that's right. But hang on, because this is what was confusing. When he tried to explain bringing Galadriel to Numenor, he tried to explain it that it was the sea that led him to her, and the sea is always right. But then I said, when Reveal was like, but no, isn't that contradicting the will of the sea? Is that the sea, like she would have been dead without any intervention by being stranded at sea? That was the sea's will, and you prevented that. And now, these are the consequences of contradicting the sea, because the sea is always right. That's what you get. You deserve it. So anyway, I should have never pulled. But I just want to say, by the way, in terms of acting and delivery, I think this guy does the best out of anyone. I think he actually, in terms of delivery, I don't know. I like the depth and command of his voice. That might be it. Maybe I'm getting...
And, he does look like he cares, and a lot of people don't look like they care about anybody but themselves.
I don't think his character has done well, and his dialogue has been pretty bad as everything, but he's definitely one of the least worst characters in the show, and I do like the actor. I think I like the actor who plays him. But that's what I'll say about it. The character is still just... So, Galadriel, she's of course, she's alive. They get back. Theo makes a beeline to the
healer's tent.
healer's tent?
Somehow he knows that's the healer's tent. I'm not sure how.
Is it the banners? But he doesn't know Numenorian banners. He doesn't ask anyone. He just walks straight there and just knows that the injured people are in. Sure.
He just knows.
He just knows.
He doesn't know the camp's there, but he knows where to find the wounded.
All right. Oh, I don't want to get pinged for... There's injured people. Anyway, they wanted to try and do a fake out where he looks down, see a lady with hair under a blanket. They're like, oh, it's his mother. Like, you really think that's fooling us? You think we believe you have the balls to kill off girl power Bronwyn, wonderful lady who leads us? Get out of here. You don't fool us for a second. And of course, she's alive. She's like, and the show thinks...
And looking just fine, no burns,
I know.
not messy, nothing.
We need to look at her shoulder, see if she's still got that injury.
Oh, yes.
But, like, the show really believes, like, we got you. You thought you were there, aren't you? Like, no, you didn't. No. So, let's play it just because we might see her shoulder. See if they actually are consistent with that injury.
They have a cape on her through a lot of these
you're
things.
Right. Oh, wait, there is a bandage.
Oh,
you see a bandage that's under her dress. Yeah, right there. Okay, so she's...
A little bit of consistency.
Yeah. All right, they did that much. Like, writing 101. And then, of course, Discount Legolas is alive because they don't have the balls to kill these characters off. Oh.
And her son likes him now.
Yeah.
Apparently. He's okay now.
Chat. Warning, no women's were harmed in the filming of this thing. And it's so interesting. Again, this is supposed to be like a moment of relief. It's like, you thought they might have been dead. Aren't you happy that... I was like, no, I'm not. I feel nothing. Okay, so... She's wearing a blindfold, right? Is that necessary? She's blind. Why?
Well... Sometimes people that have injuries to eyes or are blind, the the glaring light can hurt, even if they can't see it. So maybe they're going for that. It's often why people that are blind have sunglasses.
I know
on.
that there's a...
And so maybe they're trying to do that, or maybe they're just trying to avoid using makeup to show her eyes being damaged.
That could be it. Or she can't, like, because also it's interesting when you know, speak and interact with blind people, their eyes, they rarely wander, usually just fixed right in a single spot. And so actors, when they try and portray a blind person, you're naturally used to your eyes just darting and focusing in on things.
Maybe she couldn't do it,
and they have a lot of trouble duplicating the stillness of the eyes not seeing anything. And yeah, it could be that maybe she had trouble portraying it. But anyway, she's wearing a blindfold. I've heard some people say that it's because she's trying to hide that she's blind. I'm not sure.
Why would you be blindfolded and not be blind?
We haven't seen her interact with any of the regular people, because they might be saying that she has an injury that she can see, she's just injured and they're healing. I don't know. Okay, so we got the massive camp, pulled her aboard. Theo just misdirected the mother. Oh, okay, so she goes to Neil. You are not in... Oh, so yeah, you are not in Numenor, or something like that. And then, the fault is mine. A fault that is mine alone. Is this Galadriel speaking again? So
she's blaming herself again.
It's all about friggin' her. She's the narcissist cow. Like, no! You know, if you weren't here, everything, like, Mordor would have exploded in the same... And more Southlanders would be dead. Less Numenorians, so it'd be interesting if that... Imagine if that is a perfect balance. Like, the amount of Southlanders they saved is only equivalent to the Numenorians they lost, and there's no net benefit of saving lives. They killed a couple of more orcs along the process. There's a positive. So even if it was a trade in Southlanders and Numenorians, at least they killed some orcs. So you had achieved that, Galadriel. So it wasn't completely pointless.
But then the commander guy... He gets all upset about people being dead. I'm like, you came all this way to go to war against orcs. Did you expect everybody to survive? You're going to retreat and not come back now? Because that's the feeling you get from him. Is he wants to go home and he does not want to come back. I'm going to leave now because people died in a war against orcs.
Mm-hmm. And then, you're right, okay, and there's this weird moment when he almost tears up, and I'll get there because I have a note on it before. Like Galadriel says she pities the queen or something, and then the queen says, "Save your pity for our enemies." And I was like,
she doesn't even say she pities her. The queen feels her face and decides her face feels like it's pitying her. She has no experience with understanding facial expressions with her hands.
She can just know by touching. But it's an odd choice of words. It's like, pity your enemies? It's like, I don't know, maybe you should say, save your pity for the dead, maybe, or you know, people that are worse off than the queen, or even if they wanted to go with the pity, it's like, our wrath will be so great that you will pity the fate in store for them, or something like that, right? But no, just pity the enemies. It's like, they are your enemies. I don't know, just like an odd choice of words. So there's that, and then yeah, I, daughter of blah blah, you know, and then she's like, Captain, ready the ships or something, for we will return. It's right after I complimented this guy's acting. This cry face he makes looks so fake and bad. It's like I might have to withdraw my praise of him. Because anyway, she says, Captain, we set sail with the tide, and she vows that Numenor will be back. Okay, so this is the context. And then in the vow that Numenor will be back, that's what makes Elendil cry.
No, I believe he's already upset because she's like, Captain, and then she's giving orders.
No, just look at his face.
Maybe should have used that one as a thumbnail.
That's going into... I'm updating that to the thumbnail. That is God. That is so cringe and awful. I look really bad I just complimented you, man, and then you give us that face. They're trying to cry but can't. It's like, I want to be sad. I'm like, I really am.
He's trying to make those tears come. He's really trying.
Oh, wow. But the thing is, what throws me, he's crying over the fact that the Numenorians will return and not the fact that his son is dead.
I think he's still dwelling on that. I think he's supposed to be. But the part in this scene that really confused me, where she seems to want to continue this war against the orcs, to do that, she's going to take most of her troops back to bring more, instead of leaving most of her troops here and only taking a small contingent with their boats to bring back more.
You're absolutely right. Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
Leaving a larger occupying force would actually be really helpful.
But she's like, we'll leave a few people here to help the survivors.
Just a couple. Even though the orcs are now overrun, the Southlands, just leave a couple and we're all returning.
We'll all return, and then we've already got full boats, and we've got to bring more people back somehow.
I married a smart woman. I love you. You see these points that she brings out? It's just spot
Nathan
on.
would have picked it.
Spot
That's
on.
okay.
This is spot on. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. But it's baffling. Yeah. Why you take everyone back? I'm still dwelling on this guy's face. Just... Gosh, I don't know. Like, his delivery's been so good. This is such a forced fake cry. It's just... That's memeable. If there's ever a meme where you want to show someone a fake, but like, I'm trying to cry, but I'm not really crying, and I'm all just put on and fake. That whole kind of shot is just amazing.
Somebody suggested TARDIS ships, but I'm offended on behalf of the TARDIS.
Yeah, well, I mean, modern Doctor Who insults the TARDIS.
Well, yeah, that too.
Don't bring up Doctor Who to me. That's a sore spot.
That's a whole other series of videos all on its own.
And many channels have covered it much better than us already, so you can see. All right. This crap. This is the scene. This is the scene where everything about the Halfwoods is confirmed, and it comes home in such a profoundly hateful way. These people are awful. Okay,
and they try to make them sound good, and they're really not.
They're awful. They're so bad. And so these are some of the lines. And anyway, everyone's a bit mopey. So the dad starts to try and give a speech, and then they try and say this. After what they have shown these Halfwood hobbits doing, he says this: "There's one thing we can do better than all creatures in Middle-earth. We stay true to each other." Bullcrap, you do! You leave people for dead! One of the key distinctive features of your society is that you don't do that! You specifically leave people for dead if they can't keep up, and then if there's some weird ill omen, like there's not enough mushrooms, you blame it on people and steal the wheels off their cart, purposely stranding them in perilous terrain that's infested by orcs, trolls, wolves, and everything. That's murder. If you're stranding someone in a place that's really perilous and dangerous, like, Nori says, you are murdering them. These people are murderers to those they don't like, that they blame for arbitrary bullcrap, omens that they notice, or that they just don't like, or do some really inconsequential, inoffensive slight or crime that they deem is worthy of banishment.
And he's the one that was going to be left behind.
Yes!
He's not even one of the self-righteous ones that are saying we need to protect everybody. He was getting left behind.
They would have killed you, mate. And it's like, no, one thing we do better than everyone else is that we stay true to each other. The gaslighting in this show is insulting. It's like the show unironically expects us to swallow this crap after they have shown us that these vile hobbitses, Halfwood hobbitses, murder and just laugh about him after the fact. There was a poor guy that got killed by a swarm of bees, but it was funny because he was an idiot. That was their reasoning, right? Holy crap. And so when this guy says that, I was just like, piss off, show. Bull crap. No way. Don't and it's insulting that they unironically expect the audience to swallow and just think that, oh yes, aren't they so nice? Freaking get out of here. Can't stand it. Oh my goodness. And what's also laughable, this is the point where the line in the trailer is like, where our hearts are as big as our feet. Right? That's that. Right after he says, we stay true to each other, all that bullcrap. And look, just let's point out that the feet thing. They don't have a point of reference to know how that their feet are big. Their feet would be normal size to them.
They hide from everybody.
They hide from everyone.
And the only foot reference they have is for tall people who, in comparison, do have big feet.
Bigger feet than them.
Yep.
We saw the footprints. Even though they have bigger feet in comparison to their frame in regards to humans, their feet would still be smaller than a full-size human, as we saw here. So they would actually think they have small feet in comparison to other races. So it's a dumb line. It doesn't make sense.
Why brag about the size of the feet?
It's so stupid. I can't believe that they unironically expects us to swallow that.
And so, of course, Nori volunteers says she's gonna go warn him that she owes him that much to go and give him warning that these people are chasing him.
So, Poppy says something, and this is like the show. It expects you to believe it, yet it seems like the show is aware of how vile they are, because Nori says, "We've left enough folk behind, we're not leaving him," which is a direct acknowledgement that they leave people for dead. Right after the line of the dad saying is that they stay true to each other.
And they've technically just left him behind by sending him away.
Look, there's the line that we stay true to each other. I can't believe, they have the contradiction so close. They stay true to each other, and then Nori literally acknowledges we've left enough folk behind. I can't believe this crap.
And they've had, most of the night of a head start from her, leaving right here during the day. And they're taller, so they've got longer legs. Even if they're at walking pace, they've got quite the head start on her.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to catch up. They don't have, long strides because they're pretty short. And I have a note on them catching up, and we'll get to that. Because there's even more. Because I will get there. Let's see. So, Nori says, okay, so she, we've left enough folk behind, not going to leave him. And it's like, oh my goodness. And then warn him what's coming. He deserves at least that. Okay. This slide. Okay, so there's another one, because then she needs help, and it's interesting who speaks up to help. So Poppy says she won't be alone. I'm going with her. Good on you, Poppy. She's probably one of the least unlikable.
She seems to have a somewhat fair common sense of stay away what seems to be dangerous.
She's definitely the smartest by a long shot.
She warns people when she sees a footprint. She seems to be actually looking around the area.
So there's the line here. We've left enough folk behind. We're not leaving him. It's like, yeah, all right. So you acknowledge that you just leave people behind. And then the girls aren't going anywhere, right? And this is from this awful lady. And don't forget what she said, because listen to what comes out of her mouth.
No, this isn't the awful lady. This is the mother.
This is the mother?
We're not at the awful lady just yet.
Okay,
the mother says, I'm going to come with you. But you're like, okay, well, you're taking care of the girls. I can kind of get that. Now we get the awful lady.
Yeah, the awful lady. She says, they might need a trail finder if you go with them. And she's basically dobbing in her husband on a perilous, dangerous thing that might get people killed. Trying to overtake, fire mages that just immolated their, society. And then she's suddenly like, the Brandyfoot girl was right to help him, was right all along. I'm like, Cal, you wanted to murder them for it. You're the one who literally said, take their wheels and strengthen. So she's literally the one who wanted to murder them, right?
All along, she's been the one against the Discount Gandalf, or is that what you call him?
Yeah, Discount Gandalf.
And she's been horrible the whole time.
And then this. What's the good of living, Sardok, if we aren't living good? You tried to murder people, you hypocritical cow! Come off it! Oh my goodness. The gall of the writers to even think that the audience would swallow this bull crap. I can't believe it. And
then his line, wait for his line.
What was his line?
You're always right.
Oh, that's... You're right. I do have that mentioned. Because he's acknowledging that she was right to try and murder them as well, then if she was always right, she was the one who wanted to kill them by stealing it. I couldn't believe it. Oh my goodness. So, yeah, that's right. He says, just once, it would be great if she wasn't right all the time. And I'm like, moron, she was the one who was saying they needed to take away the Brandyfoot's cart. She wanted them to be dead. There's also, they're trying to make the Hobbit Halfwoods here appear noble when, like, no, this is like basic human compassion and decency. This isn't...
Not for them, they're not human.
I know, you're right,
This is exceptional for them.
Really exceptional. But for, like, anybody with any level of ethics, this is basic decency for, you know, someone who might be in trouble, right? But the show is trying to play it off like this is some great noble sacrifice, like we should be moved by it. Well, not only are we not moved by it, because this is really base level compassion, all the contradictory bullcrap of how murderous and psychopathic these people are, and that they acknowledge it because they say, we'll do something good now, which means they acknowledge that they're doing bad before, and that, you know, we've left enough people behind, which means they acknowledge that, and then the lies that, you know, we stay true to each other. It's such utter, complete, contemptible crap, this. And yet the show wants you to accept it and be moved by it. This is such touching, noble, you know, self-sacrificing kindness by these psychopathic, murdering, vile, smelly, dirty... Gosh. I'm lost. I'm at that end of words in describing how awful these Half-Foot hobbits are. And then, okay, so he goes with them, and we see them walking away, and it is just like, you know, 3 women, 2 pretty young, and a guy, and I'm thinking, like, was there no other, like, capable, strong men who might also say, hey, I'm a bit stronger, I might be able to handle some threats, I'll come and protect you a bit.
You know, I don't remember seeing any young men in their
I do,
tribe.
yeah.
It's like women and older men.
You're right.
I don't remember actually seeing like teenage boys or anything.
They probably all killed him off. That was the
They
guy
left
that
them behind.
that was the guy that got stuck in a snowstorm, got killed by bees and everything like that. I need to go back because I wonder if most of those people that died were male. Because they give the names. I wonder. Oh, they're awful. They are so awful. Okay, and then that's the scene where we see him walking, and it's really odd walking as well. Like, it's because you can tell they have prosthetic feet, and so the actress playing Poppy can barely, like, look at her waddle. It's, like, really weird. She can't, like, her feet are all splayed out. She's like, blub, 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 like she's wearing flippers. So anyway, that was in the trailer. And they're back on the boat. I kind of forget what happened in this scene. Oh, because it wasn't long, that's right. It's just, yeah, see the Numenorians. Man, there's a lot of Numenorians still. I don't know. It's like, seems like they have it. I don't know. There's like there's the same crew complement. We saw soldiers on deck before, but anyway, we see. So basically, Galadriel and Discount Legolas are watching the Numenorian boat. You see it in the distance over here. Down, you know, they're on the water. They're watching them sail away. Hang on, what? I looked at the map before, okay? The end of the river on the Lord of the Rings map is still about like 100 miles away if you made a straight line to the tower in Mordor. But you'd have to go through the mountains, which would be... And so they're actually implying that the river goes straight to the edge of the Southlands, somehow.
Well, their extreme gallop was pretty short, so I guess they just don't care about their maps.
Or when leaving Mordor, they had to traverse like 100 miles on foot to get to the camp.
I guess that's why everybody's clean by the time Galadriel catches
Yeah,
up, because they've all had
took
plenty of time to
ages.
bath.
It showed like only a night passed and they're there. The show, again, doesn't pay attention to geography, time scale, anything. And so someone says, I forget who, that they will not abandon these lands and condemn them to burn, nor will you. Where do they say that? I can't even remember. I made a note because I found it interesting. Oh, no, that was Halbrand that says this. So it's not even here. Okay, so it's even later.
We've still got to catch up to that part.
Oh, that's right, because she asks she must go to face what awaits her. And then something about the king comes up. Yeah, but what of our king? And she's like, our king? Where? Your king? Yeah, Halbrand, the guy you have the hots for. Has no one informed you? And so she goes and finds Halbrand. Not in a good way. He's got like a big wound on his side.
He's pale. He's barely able to move at this little juncture.
Barely able to move. A wound so serious that only elven healing can fix.
Yes, this looks bad.
It's very serious. Pay attention to that. Anyway, so he is the one that says, I will not abandon these lands and condemn them to burn, nor will you, meaning that neither will Galadriel. And I just find that really interesting because it's pretty clear who Halbrand, totally not Sauron, is. And they're so desperate to misdirect people about who he really is that this line is contradictory, okay? Like, actual Sauron, wouldn't he be happy with this? So I think they're just so desperate to misdirect that they're willing to contradict what his true intents will be, and I'm really interested to see how they'll do the reveal because it's so obvious that is Sauron. That what will have been his plan in regard to this, okay, and his feelings about Adar and the Mount Doom destruction and turning Mordor into a place for everything. So, because if they're still trying to sell that Halbrand is on a redemption arc, that he wants to be good and everything like that, and go away from his bad past. It's Galadriel that caused him to go down this path where he'll fall into his evil ways again. It's all her fault.
Well, she is right in one thing then.
What's that?
That it's all her fault.
It is all her fault. Yeah, that part. Yeah, you're right. But she doesn't know who Halbrand is yet. But yeah, that will be all her fault. Holy crap. What a way to just destroy Galadriel as a character. She is responsible for Sauron's rise.
Now, as far as his wound is, he didn't even make it all the way to camp. They found him on the roadside.
Really? Wow.
So, on the tweet at the moment, Southlanders found him on the roadside. Yes,
look at him. He's on death's door. That's serious stuff, okay? And then he needs the elven magic. Oh, there's the one. I will not abandon these lands to burn. And then he's fine. He's just on his 2 feet. And not only that can he walk around, he's going to get on a horse and ride thousands of miles
and they
to
don't
the Elven
ride
lands.
Slowly.
Exactly.
We'll see this in a second. They're not just walking.
I saw them. I know where the Elven Kingdom is and where Mordor is. This is a distance that's analogous to the journey that Frodo went on to get the ring to Mordor.
That took a year.
Exactly. This is an insanely long distance. And Halbrand is just going to ride the whole distance with a friggin' hole in his side that he's already on death's door with. But once again, the show just shovels you crap and expects you to swallow it like it just makes sense. No, we're not doing that. We're not morons. We're not the morons you think we are. And this is complete bullcrap. You showed him barely able to move on death's door, and now you want us to believe that he's walking around, gets on a horse, and rides off with Galadriel in the sunset. Look at that! If he had, this should be fall off the horse in agonizing pain.
I don't think he would have even been able to get up on the horse.
It's complete bullcrap. And then the show wants us to this is moving, right? It's strength for the Southlands. It's great. Our king is leaving us, abandoning us to deal with the horrors of this thing ourselves because it's about to die and needs elven magic healing. Even though I'd be thinking, he can ride. He doesn't look that bad. Why is he leaving?
How do we fix that?
Aren't you supposed to be our one and true king? And it's nah, you'll be fine. You're probably all dead. See ya! And then, again, they want us to feel like this is so empowering and is strength of the Southlands.
So now she's going to ride to the Elven Kingdom with an injured man with her.
Yep.
And no sword.
And no sword, exactly.
Going through orc-infested areas, and she's just going to have her little knife and an injured man and they'll be just fine.
Yeah, what if they run across trolls or wolves or anything?
Yeah, no supplies, you're right, chat. No food,
no food,
nothing.
They just yeet off. And I bet next episode they'll arrive. They will teleport across thousands of miles in a day, not even a day. They'll just get there because the show is that incompetent and expects the audience to be that stupid to not notice it, and they'll teleport there, and Halbrand will be like, and by the way, I saw the preview to the next episode, and yes, you see Halbrand and her riding towards the Elven city and is not dead. But hey, Galadriel just ate a pyroclastic flow in her face and got up without a scratch. So,
The poor horses. Not even a change of horses, nothing. They're just going to ride fast the whole way.
So this is an interesting scene with Deezer. Deezer actually sounds a bit villainous here. She basically says, your dad, you're going to be king no matter what.
And by the way, didn't we already establish in an earlier episode that elves have no doctors? They have artists.
Holy!
How will they help this human when they have no method of helping?
We'll punch it better.
They will make him quite pretty.
Elven healing shouldn't exist. Their healers are artisans. And they're just like...
We need elven healers because we need healers.
Oh my goodness, that's so perfect. You're right. This show is contradictory crap, and when you see those kids, it's just... Yeah, elven healing. They'll sit him down and they'll do a play in front of him and he's dying. He's just like, I need medicine. This is our medicine. Oh, I love you, hun. So, Deezer, she's now saying, like, you will be the king and we will not only rule this mountain, we'll rule all the mountains. And
I love she's saying this now that he's disinherited.
I know, right? And that mithril will belong to us. And I'm like, holy crap, Deezer's got a dark side. She's like, it's all ours. You'll be the king. So, okay, good. They're ruining Deezer. Took them long enough, And then, no matter how many Cressy hurls on the floor, like, wow, this is really manipulative, really sinister. And then Durin is just like, okay, seal it up, through the hole. And he sees he picks up the leaf, he throws the leaf through the hole, and then seal it up. What's your thoughts?
Oh, just that little insignificant leaf. And then how the scene ends, like, a leaf is very noisy, you see.
Yeah, I know. It's like, and the wind takes it perfectly all the way, and this is the reveal. It falls down, 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 and then it just bursts into flame from the heat, and it's the reveal, the Balrog. The Balrog's inside there, and again, we're left wondering, does the Durin King Dad know that the Balrog's there? And I half wonder if that's all they'll show of the Balrog, and that's it.
And they're just doing a little teaser because
This is
it wasn't in the other
only
movies.
to put in the trailer, to bait people in, and they won't do anything with it. That would be hilarious. Gold. I hope they do it because it's just another point of complete incompetence and disingenuous, lazy crap that, how can we attract people? We'll throw a Balrog in and they won't even give the payoff. And they masters are not giving the payoff.
And this Balrog is an exceptionally light sleeper. Like, he wakes up and gets mad
From a
over a
leaf?
leaf falling.
Not all the hammering and things, but this was...
No, that didn't bother him at all. It's the leaf.
But this was still pretty far away from, the entrance, so maybe you didn't hear. But still, it's just like, I wonder if they won't even do anything with it. We'll see. Second episode might still be Balrog attack crap. But it'll be hilarious if they do nothing with it. Because that is from the trailer. And now, they
don't hear the roar, of course, most likely.
Yeah. The orcs are with Ada. Excuse me. You just sniff. Okay, so they're with Ada, and Hail Ada, Lord of the Southlands, and this is the name of this place. That is the name of a place that no longer exists. And they're like, what shall we call it, Lord Ada? And
he doesn't answer.
You didn't need to give the answer. It's obvious. And so I thought, okay, because it is obvious, they won't answer it. But because, they have to spell everything out, he doesn't say anything, and then they have this. This is actually pretty hilarious, right? So you see Mount Doom in the distance, and they have the Southlands. This is so cringe. And then it burns away. Careful of copyright. Burns away, and like, what? Really? You're just gonna Mordor, dude? It's like, that is so cringe and lame. Just have Adar say it then. What? This is no longer the Southlands. Is a place. What shall we call it? Mordor. I can still.
They get answered at least.
And then, and this is, by the way, the end of the episode. It's like, it's like, we knew this. You didn't. It was obvious from the beginning when we saw the map. It's like the Southlands of Mordor, but they're playing it like this is a reveal, a big reveal. Oh, the origin of Mordor! You're amazed! And that's Rings of Power, episode 7. Wow! All right. Wow. That was complete garbage. I'll take that down now. We got through it. We're getting there. But we're not done yet, of course, because we've got super chats, and I can't wait to get to the super chats. Love to hear what you guys are saying. Love the interaction and back and forth and things. So I'll read this, but I'll give a summary. So yeah, as I was saying at the beginning, the show is as bad as ever. The only thing consistent about the show is how consistently bad it is. The writing is awful, and this episode, just another one. Like, there were some really dumb things in this episode. Some really, really dumb things. I wouldn't say it is like as astronomically dumb as the whole dam and pyroclastic flow survival and all that stuff, but it's still.
Though they do show a lot of the survivalists with no bones or
Yeah,
anything
you're
at
right.
all. So it is pretty dumb.
It's amazingly bad. We're in still like 0, 1, 2 out of 10 territory. Like, no, 1 out of 10. Like this is an awfully bad show. But look, we love roasting it with you guys as it rightly deserves, because this show is so bad. It's actually got unironically evil like philosophy and elements in it. If you want, I got a video on Night's Watch where we break that down. It's not just saying flippantly. It's a really vile, awful show. But now let's see what you guys are saying, and we'll bring up the super chats. Okay, so scrolling down. This is from Skits 3D. How are you, Skits? For $5. Galadriel will rise anew like a phoenix of old, or more like Mulan 2020. Don't remind me.
We prefer to forget that.
Yeah. Zeta Ziggy for $2. Morning from USA, 3 a.m. Oh, joining us anyway at that time. Thank you, Zeta Ziggy. Hammer of Subtlety. $5. This show managed to follow up on an erupting volcano with more boring. I know. That takes talent. Also, hi, Shad and Mrs. Shad.
Hello back to you. And, I just saw a comment that this is the shortest review we've done so far. That's probably because we don't have Nathan's insights. My insights are usually short and snappy, and Nathan's getting really good at finding things and spelling them out that we miss.
Nathan is doing good, but I also have less pages. This is actually a 4-pager for me.
Oh, is that the least you've had
Least
so far?
I've had so far. And it's because so little happened, okay? There's just, it's a boring episode. Nothing a lot is achieved, and so, they're just regathering, and, Halffoot's, Discount Gandalf is gone, and then boring crap. It was a boring episode. Little happened, but less notes mean less conversation.
And
Shorter
no fight scenes to rip apart
Yeah.
in this one.
Yes, that as well. Though we're actually, who knows? We might still be perfectly in line with the length of our views, because when you account for super chats at the end, they usually go for about 3 hours, and we're about 2.5 hours in so far, or 2 hours and 20 minutes. So we'll see. But anyway, we're going to be close around that mark, and so even with less notes, I think we got a lot of conversation and point out a lot of crap. So thank you, Hammer of Subtlety. So Crazy Tiger Person for $20 says, Remember when Jeffy Belzo said he wanted his own Game of Thrones? Well, he technically did season 8 with how garbage it is. Also, Shad, do you own a Warhammer? Also, much love to the Lady of the Watch. Do I own a Warhammer? I've got a LARP one. I need to get a real Warhammer, an actual proper metal Warhammer. I technically have a kind of like a pole hammer. You know, my Victor Corbin.
Yeah, that one's got a hammer on the back. That's.
I think that counts.
Yeah.
Thank you for the super chat. Dragon Dracage for $50. Thank you, sir. Says, love hearing your reviews of terrible series. After making the mistake of watching Kenobi, can't find it within myself to watch any new series. Also, would love to hear your critique of the 2003 Hulk film with Eric Bana. Keep asking, sir. We might get it to one of these days.
And just on a side note, for those that came a bit later, Nathan's just out at PAX Australia today, and so he hasn't been in, but he'll be back again next week. Not to worry.
And maybe the lady can join us again because you had burlers. I don't want to miss out on them. They were great.
You've been killing it. Been a lot of comments about you.
Maybe Pete can join us as well, but we do these are like overtime late streams. It's 8:30 at night for us, so we don't force everyone, but it's great having Peter here with us as well. So Rosen's Dragon 2140 for $5 says, can't stay up for the stream, but still want to support. Thank you. Can't wait to hear your and the ladies' take on the destruction of Guy Ladriel's marriage. He's just dead. They just killed him off.
Yeah, it didn't say how. He's just dead, and it ended with her. Picking on him.
I half wonder if it's because they didn't want, a husband wanting to protect his wife and show any kind of, marital instinct of protection and care and love and everything. They also wanted to ship
or a
Galadriel.
stable married relationship.
I get the feeling, they can't have that. She has to be a girl boss, small powered herself. She can't be helped by a man, and having a marriage, that'll, because I get the impression that, and also they wanted to ship her with Halbrand, Sauron and stuff, and so it's awful. They just kill him off. Don't care about the law. But thank you very much for the super chat. Rick George for $20 says, we know the writing, direction, and casting is terrible, but isn't there more pressure on the executives? Surely they would have seen shorts before release. I'm baffled how this got to release in the state it is. It is terrible. And it must have passed through so many eyes, and so many people are like, yes, that's great. It's like, well, I mean, executives aren't writers, and so...
And really, it's just got to go through the person that says, I don't care what you say, I'm going to do it anyway. And so they might have had people saying, you really need to fix this up. And they're like, nah, it's great, leave it.
Probably. Thank you for the super chat. Fidel Fastro for $20 says, we all know Isildur picked up a broken blade at the last second and swung at the falling roof, cutting the support away from the rubble to free himself. Can't have a piece of Tolkien lore untarnished. Maybe. What about, is that, broken sword, cuts off Sauron's things?
I do remember, yes.
Yeah, and he probably survived that way. Who knows? We'll see how he did it.
Or we won't. We might just have the horse coming back with him.
Yeah, that's right. They're happy to give no context, just bullcrap like that. Pete me? I don't know how to pronounce it, but thank you for the super chat for 25 HKD. Shad, it's Peter. Okay. Oh, Peter. Okay. Peter, please review weapons, armor, gear, and so on shown in Amphibia and Owl House in the future, then analyze those items' effectiveness. I've never heard of that.
I'm not familiar either.
Amphibia and Owl House. Okay, I'll have to look into it. Thank you for the super chat. UP Shoot for €5 says, they gave us hope the Wicked Witch of the West was dead, but I guess she's so hot not even a volcano can stop her. So inflamed and enraged. Hot has other connotations. She's not very hot. James for $2 US says, oh my gosh, you're live! We are! Thank you for joining us. And thank you for the super chat. Tom Sutton for $2 US says, Dwarven Seer King knows evil sleeps, don't tell. If he does know that it's like something really bad, all he had to do was say it. Skits 3D for $2 US. Durin is in love with Elrond. Love, hate. I get that impression. I do get that impression. Apple Mania Gaming. I think I got that. Apple Mania Gaming for $5 Australian. How are you? Says the Balrog doesn't awake until the third age. Yeah. Plus Mithril saving the elves makes no sense since that's what they need the rings for. Show big dumb. Yeah, and
we're agreeing with you.
That might be how they justify. It's like, oh no, the Mithril won't save us, so we'll use the rings to like prolong our lives or something like that. Yes, but the show is indeed big dumb. DTZY 50p HP. Goose Frame Shad Goose Frabber. I don't know what that means. Thank you for the super chat though. I can't pronounce that. The 5 GPP. A lot of Galadriel problems would be fixed by making her a witch. Swimming hundreds of miles, making boats travel fast, surviving volcanoes. I agree. Yeah, she is a witch. I got there before you.
But even the bucket of water wouldn't work because she's been in the ocean.
I know,
she was
damn it.
just fine.
Oh, and she survived. She didn't melt. Fernandez T for $5 says, Durin is a Christian. He forgave him. J.R. Tolkien is a Christian. Don't you get it? Sarcasm. Yeah. They didn't justify Durin. Just Elrond lied through his teeth and he doesn't. Yep. Worry for $10 Australian says, here is some dollary-doos for you mad lads. Stronk Wamen. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Is Tredifi? PLN 25. Thank you for the super chat. So Mithril and the Blight behave like two magnets. Interesting indeed, sir. Skits 3D for $2 says, I'm imagining Durin whacking elves with that stone. Just what, hitting him over the head. Worry for $10 Australian. What about second breakfasts? Good question, sir. What about indeed that? In fact, I have a video on Shadiversity that asks that. Check it out. Can you eat like a hobbit? Gruff for $10 says, I like how Muriel told Elendil that she saw Isildur die, then later she said she's blind. You're right. Wouldn't Elendil then wonder if Isildur was still alive? By the way, bought your comic book. Can't wait to read it. Thank you, sir. I totally forgot about it. Graphic novel. Indiegogo. Guys. You can get the graphic novel adaptation of my book. It's on Indiegogo. It is available. Thank you for getting it, sir, Gruff. And I really think you guys will like it. There is a link in the description. And I'm doing it. I'm trying to make good stories because we get so much crap like this that maybe we can get some good ones. And if we can't get it, we'll make it ourselves. So collector edition covers, check it out. It's awesome. And thank you again. So, yeah, but the thing is, there was the guy, the friend of Isildur that wasn't blind, and he was the one who was telling Elendil that Isildur was dead, but still, I get what you're saying. The Dragon Reborn! Wheel of Time.
We still mourn you.
The books are great, they'll always be great. For $4.99, says, G'day, Shad, how's your mental health going? It's surviving. You seem marginally more stable this week. Thanks for taking the hit for us, but make sure you look after yourself as well. Thanks to Mrs. Shad too. If you want to see me at the edge of my rope, watch the fight scene autopsy. It's actually battle scene autopsy. That'll be coming out on Shadiversity, I think maybe tonight or tomorrow night. Probably tomorrow night. Because that was tough to get through. Thank you for the super chat. And Dragon Reborn again for $2.99 says, and thanks to everyone who helped behind the scenes. That's to you, Pete. Thank you, mate. Worry for $10 says, mate, here is another 10 rods to support your goals and bring on the Friday last because this show sucks more bottom than Peter Jackson movie. Bad taste, lol. It sucks indeed, sir. Axis for 5 GBP says, hey Shad, really love the book. Thank you, sir. Your magic system is one of the best I've read. It was so refreshing and totally understand how it worked and why. That's awesome. That was my intent. And if people want to also see the original novel, as well as the graphic novel. The second edition version of the novel is available on the Indiegogo campaign with collector edition covers, and you can even get it in leather bound, and the leather bound looks so cool. It's really, really cool. So if you haven't read my book, there's a great time to start, and you get second edition version with collectors, all that stuff.
Yep, there's plenty of options. There's an option where you can pick the cover for both the graphic novel and the novel, so you can get them both together.
Indeed. And that's awesome. I'm so glad you enjoyed the book. And Axis again for 5 GBP says, regarding Halbrand being Sauron, I think it's more likely he is Kamul, the Easterling, king of the men who became the second strongest Nazgul. We will see. I'm very certain his Halbrand. I'd like to be wrong. Should be Galadriel. I would actually love that. I would love this Galadriel, like, returns the Elven lands. She goes to her house and she's like, servants come, you've been along. It's like, silence. I have no duties to attend to. She opens up a dungeon and there is actual Galadriel tied up, locked away, and she's like, I'm Sauron. And then she gets defeated in the real Galadriel. Like, that would be a retcon. I'll be like, yes! I would be totally on board with that this was an evil imposter the whole time. Thank you for the super chat. T2AV for $2 Canadian says, super chat. It is indeed, and thank you for the super chat. Crazy Tiger Person for $5 says, during, I think it's Durin, and Elrond in Rock and Stone. Does that seem right if I have to be honest with all the differences between both of the peoples? That doesn't seem right if I have to be honest with all the differences between both of the peoples. During and Elrond in Rock and Stone. I don't get it. I'm sorry, hard to translate, but still thank you for the super chat. Sarah Gould for $20, thank you very much, says, awesome book, Shad. Most Christian authors shy away from how evil affects real life, making their fiction work unrealistically rosy, which cloys the palate of readers and bores them. You are properly frank about it. Well, thank you, and it doesn't, I guess, mesh with all people. The fact that I am very upfront about evil and evil acts and things, but I felt it would be disingenuous if I just wasn't honest with... Just
calling somebody evil without telling you why they're evil misses a few important factors.
I didn't want to pull any punches. I was like, all right, what would someone with this mindset do in this situation? How far would they go? And then I looked to historical inspiration and stuff, and wow, when you look at history, for every single crime my main character Dalen does, there's someone in history that's done an equivalent but much worse. I just kind of grabbed multiple and put it into one. But so if awful things have happened historically, and if this guy was going to be an honest representation of how bad people can become, I wasn't going to shy away. And it's awesome that you've noticed. Thank you for that. And I'm glad you appreciate that. Not everyone does, and I fully get that. I wrote Dalen to push people to the line, all right? Most people to the line of like... And for some, it's way over, because as soon as you get on the line, it's going to be someone either end. And I completely get that. If people hate my book because they can't stand the main character, I understand that. That is completely valid, because I did it intentionally. And this is the thing, right? What I wanted is to hit that line where most people will kind of be engaged and intrigued by this character, knowing that to get that, you're still going to be too far for some people. But the fact that most people have loved my book and kind of understand what I was doing with it, actually, I take that as great validation that I hit what the target, what I was aiming for, that I pushed it as far as I think I was able to go without going too far that everyone couldn't stand it. But but that does mean it's too far for some people, and I get that. I get that completely. Thank you very much for the super chat. Axis for 5 GBP says, Arpharazon and Muriel are not born for over 1,000 years after the forging of the One Ring. Sauron rises, falls, and rises again in the time they skipped. Yeah, they've condensed and bastardized so much. Thank you for the super chat. The Physicality channel for $2 says, Rings of Power is the most expensive Lord of the Rings blooper ever made. Yes. Worry for $10 says, Magnus did nothing wrong. Is that the horse? I think that was the horse. I don't know. Who was Magnus again? I forget. But thank you for the super chat. Ciro for 5 GBP says, Can't watch now, but wanted to catch you live to say keep up the good work. Thank you very much, and we will do our very best. Okay, so Obokop, I think, for $5 says, I'm thinking about buying a tankard to drink root beer in style. What material did people use in the Dark Ages? Wooden, metal? Stay strong, my friends. Usually wood, cups a lot. And I mean, look, there's the...
Depends on the era and the location, I think, a lot of the time.
Yeah.
You know, there were the drinking horns.
Ceramic was common enough. The drinking horns were more of a novelty, but They
were still there, and then the richer would have metal ones.
By far, the most common was just wood.
Yes.
Yeah. But you know, the metal ones could be made. They'll be more expensive. And then, of course, like I said, clay and things, ceramics. But yeah, pick your style, sir. Muffin Bakery for 400 THB. I don't know the currency, but still, thank you very much. Rings of Power should change its names to Rings of Discount. By the way, thank you, Shad, for unlocking the region. Now I can send you a super chat. I didn't know the regions was locked.
No, I didn't. That's the first I heard of it either.
Yeah.
So, I guess that was a YouTube thing where they got something right.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. Wonderful that it's working now. Quickly refresh it because usually, yep, we've got a couple more in. J-Locks Jedi for 5 GBP says, Illendil, the actor, is by far the only good character in the show. No consequences to an explosive eruption and pyroclastic flow on such a scale. WT, I know, right? And I would agree about Illendil, except for that crying face. That crying face was so bad. Dracage.
He was ugly crying.
I know, but it was fake, forced ugly crying.
But only the boys in this cry. None of the ladies. I don't think I've seen a girl cry.
Good point. I wonder. I think Galadriel might shed a random tear at some point for some weird reason. But still, yes, thank you for the super chat. Dracage for $5 US says, wow, shortest review yet, I think, lol. Maybe, we might be under the 3-hour mark, but we'll be close. But still, we're going strong. Lucky Star 2516 for $5 says, stay strong, Shad. You're almost there. I know. But we are there. We're already done, and I'm enjoying the super chats with you. The super chats is by far the most enjoyable part of this review. We're all walking towards Mount Doom with you, and can't wait till you toss this show into the fire itself. Wouldn't that be great? Maybe we need to do a meme. Toss it into the fire.
Maybe we need a physical copy to, put in our little fire pit.
Just smash it with my Bector Corbin. Nighty Armo, I hope I can pronounce that, for CZK50. Thank you very much. So Celeborn is dead and Galadriel is going to ride off and give Halbrand the elvish medicine. Wink, wink. Well, we know it's not actual medicine, so it might be. Oh no. Kyle Star for 50 NZD. I liked the South to Mordor change. It would have been epic if a good show and it would have been epic in a good show and I think they could have pulled it off if they had the talent. Because did they explain? I don't know. Some part of me still likes just the corrupting influence of evil and just the orcs and just overtook that area and their presence just corrupted it. I kind of like that theme as well. So yeah, but it could have been done much better if they had some competence. You're right. Has any man been independent and strong beyond Sauron? He's a Lindell, sure.
Captain of the Orc Army's pretty independent and strong.
The half-naked guy that goes and joins thing.
He makes his own decision.
Yeah, he does. He's an independent guy. The anime.
It's evil when the man does it. You see, that's why.
Oh, yeah. The anime guy, $2 US. Thank you very much. Says, don't watch Owl House unless you want another rant. Oh, well, thank you for the warning. So I'll do a quick thing, and I think we are up to date. Looks like we are. Oh, was there just another one? No, we're done. We've got them all. I think, unless any new ones, because the chat is now speeding past. But I think we got them all. Wow. Oh, it's funny. It's painful to review this crap, but it's also fun and cathartic doing it with you guys and sharing the review. You make it worthwhile. Love yous. Thank you for joining us. Hope to see you next time on The Watch. We're signing off